Is it time?
It is time for us to do what we have been doing, and that time is every day.
We'll see what happens. We'll know in a very short period of time, but it looks like it could be something that will be not good. Believe me, not good.
I am a dissident.
Don't move. Move.
I'm saying no here. Palantir. It's not going to be stopped.
Seriously, we need to release the F-scene list.
Turns off.
I am not a church boy.
Turns off.
They're full-on vampires.
They hate our beef. They hate our beef. They hate our beef because our beef is beautiful and theirs is weak.
Not good. Believe me, not good.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Hello Dissidents. I'm all flustered today. Hello. Welcome. What the hell happened over there? Hello, everybody. Hello, Dissidents. Welcome, one and all, to a Tuesday matinee edition of the Do Dissidents podcast. Keaton Weiss here with Russell Dobular, who I guess just flipped over his computer or something. That was a hell of an entrance. I happened to flub the intro just as Russ had a computer flip over. A lot going on today. A lot of stuff today. This is getting to be a very demanding job. This podcasting job. It's life during wartime.
All right, I'm gonna plug my channel and defend you at the same time. You didn't see that video yet, right?
No, I didn't know.
All right, so Keaton is usually the boomer guy, but because of the subject I covered, I was at China Beach, and when I was growing up, there was a show on TV called China Beach with Dana Delaney. I used to watch it religiously, so I talked a little bit about the boomers. And you know the best way to show that your generation is not self-obsessed, narcissistic, navel-gazing assholes is to defensively swarm the comment section anytime someone suggests that the generation that gave us Ronald Reagan, that dismantled the social safety net, that took us from surpluses to deficits as far as the eye could see, that after succeeding and having tremendous opportunities, did everything they could to legislatively pull the ladder up behind them with tax codes that favor them, with NIMBY policies in their neighborhoods, to suggest that maybe that generation fucked things up, with full acknowledgement. We've actually talked about this. The rich boomers lived because they could afford health care. Like it's so this is part of why the people you're left with are the worst representatives of that generation. But as an Xer, when Gen Zers or even millennials are like, you guys had it so good, I'm like, yeah, because you know what? I'm not an asshole. As a rule, Gen Xers were, kind of like cynical. Right. So we're not going to be like, what do you mean, man? What do you mean? We're going to be like, yeah, you're right, dude. Right. Yeah. Like that. That's kind of what we're known for as a generation.
Gen Xers will have their time in the barrel.
Come at you like that.
Right.
Like that. Motherfuckers who had it the best probably in the history of the world.
Yep.
As a generation.
Yep.
Now, does that mean that you personally had a great? Maybe not. Maybe not. But even so, you can acknowledge that as a generation, that generation fucked things up and say, man, I wasn't one of those people, but I could definitely see how people see it that way.
Right. Kind of like we as two Jewish guys do every fucking show. Every fucking show. We criticize Israel and lament the fact that most members of our community have this horribly wrong and are doing tremendous damage. We feel a little bit ashamed of that, but we do our part to, make right as best we can. Right. I mean, it's kind of like we do all the time. Like if you're capable of any kind of basic self-awareness or introspection, you would be able to handle that like an adult.
Right? No,
Exactly.
anytime. So in this one, of course, I talked about, and I've said this, when I was growing up, the boomers were at the height of their cultural power. And if you think it's bad now, oh my God. I mean, it was wall to wall Woodstock nostalgia and relitigation of the Vietnam War. That was my entire adolescence. The entire cultural landscape was dominated by the boomers' midlife crisis. So I talk about it because I'm at China Beach. I used to watch China Beach. Like, things that are very related to Vietnam bring me back to that era. That's how I know the names of all these places. How else would I know? Of course, because the boomers dominated the culture with their internal debate they were still having about the legacy of the Vietnam War at that time. And so I talked about it in the video, of course. Well, there's at least one asshole at China Beach. I said, it's like a beach town without assholes. They got to come at you like that.
Well, no,
It's
a lot
like
of them really
they
think,
can't just accept that, man. They can't just accept. Yeah, I can see why you'd feel that way.
Exactly. No, I mean, a lot of them too. A lot of even the boomers who are more based, like the ones who watch our show, a lot of them are convinced that like the Grateful Dead really meant something politically. Like that was really revolutionary. And hey, I love the Grateful Dead. I'll do plenty of Grateful Dead content on my music channel. I think the Grateful Dead were terrific. But it doesn't compensate for the generations of ruin that you've wrought on the world. I mean, I love the American Beauty album.
Well, that's it.
The American Beauty albums may be worth the 12-day Iran war, but that's about it. It's not buying you anything besides that.
No, I had to talk about everything they did. I say, you know what? You're like if the Wachowski brothers only wanted to talk about the Matrix and pretend the two awful sequels never happened.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I like me a good Woodstock ditty as much as the next guy, but if you'd all stopped right there,
exactly.
If you'd all gone the way of Janice and Jim, then you'd be very well remembered. But you didn't. You went full fat Elvis, and that's what you're going to be remembered for.
It's funny. Charlie Kirk and Tucker Carlson did this great bit on the boomer generation that I really kind of wanted to do, but we were like, there's other stuff in the news. And then, of course, he was tragically killed. And so that kind of went out of the news, but maybe we'll do that as a flashback because that was pretty great. All right. Well, hey, nobody's going to watch this now. But I'm going to try and plug it. Anyway, so hey, on my music channel,
my channel, I just gave it such a talk up.
Yeah.
So Russ on the Road. I just dropped my video of Da Nang. I mean, overall, it's funny, I guess, unless you're a narcissistic boomer. Not boomer. I think most boomers would appreciate it. Going to China Beach because it has a lot of significance for that generation. But yeah, if you don't completely have your head up your ass and you're over 70, if you have a sense of humor, you're over 70, you'll probably like it. If you have a sense of humor in general, you'll probably like it.
Right.
But yes, just dropped a new video about Da Nang.
All right, there you go. And
I answer the eternal question: does Charlie surf? You're going to find out.
There you go. Very nice. We'll be rating my video here. I put out a new Shuffle Pod video. When I reviewed the Lucinda Williams album, we had a lot of interest in the comments from people I recognized who said that they're big fans. And I knew about half of her stuff. So I listened to the rest, and I'm going to do a Lucinda Williams album ranking and retrospective, premiering at 4:30. You'll want to tune into this, folks. This is, I think, making history as the gayest video I've ever done. So, make sure you tune in. We're gonna raid that video after this. So, hey, it's gonna work out great because we're gonna be on till about 4:30. This is exactly a half hour, and then Jimmy has Professor Zhang on at 5. So you got your whole day planned, a full day of programming today. So there you go. This will redirect there after the show.
Well, listen, man. I mean, if you really want to get the views and you were not familiar with her work, I hope you filmed your reaction video. First time millennial hears.
Yeah.
That.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Exactly.
Yeah, you could sell that.
Yeah, so that should be fun. I've been a Lucinda Williams. I wouldn't say a fan. I'm not going to claim that, but like I said, I was familiar with about half her stuff, so I knew her stuff pretty well. So that was a fun distraction from the horrors of the day. You know,
Yeah.
on the one hand, you feel kind of weird doing stuff
Those
like that. On the
horrors,
other hand, you feel
yeah.
like you kind of need it. And I think people need a break every once in a while. So you'll get a half-hour break between us and Jimmy Dore interviewing Professor Jang today. That's going to be pretty cool. So without further ado, let's get started right about now. All right. So Donald Trump had a press conference yesterday. He had two speaking events yesterday. Both were equally unhinged. So the TLDR on this is that Donald Trump is suggesting that even though it was a Tomahawk missile that destroyed the Iranian girls' school and killed over 150 children, that it could have been anyone's Tomahawk missile because a Tomahawk is very generic. So let's take a look at this.
Missile likely destroyed that Iranian girls' school. So will the U.S. accept any responsibility?
Well, I haven't seen it. And I will say that the Tomahawk, which is one of the most powerful weapons around, is used by, is sold and used by other countries, you know that. And whether it's Iran, who also has some Tomahawks, I wish they had more, but whether it's Iran or somebody else, the fact that a Tomahawk is very generic, it's sold to other countries, but that's being investigated right now.
Yeah, so the countries that it's sold to are not involved in this war because they're not as psychotic. So facts, Tomahawk missiles manufactured by RTX in Phoenix, Arizona. The U.S. sells them to exactly 4 countries, the UK, Australia, Japan, and the Netherlands. None of them are at war with Iran. The White House already confirmed behind closed doors to Congress that the U.S. targeted the area. CNN confirmed U.S. responsibility. Well, they confirmed the likely responsibility. 165 girls aged 7 to 12 are dead. And the president just told the American people a Tomahawk missile is very generic. So he was pressed on this some more. Whatever the report shows, I'm willing to live with it, he says, under further questioning.
Suggested that Iran somehow got its hands on a Tomahawk and bombed its own elementary school on the first day of the war. But you're the only person in your government saying this. Even your defense secretary wouldn't say that when he was asked, standing over your shoulder on your plane on Saturday. Why are you the only person saying this?
Because I just don't know enough about it. I think it's something that
Well, that's reason to say you don't know enough about it, which is not what you said. What you said was we think Iran did it. And even your defense secretary standing behind you on the plane didn't back you up on that. He said, we're looking into it. We're investigating. So if you didn't know enough to say anything, you probably should have just said, I don't know. Pete, why don't you take this one? But of course, the reason he said that was because he's a liar, and his way out of everything his whole life has just been to lie and figure he'll get away with it. And so that's what he did.
I don't know enough about it. I think it's something that I was told is under investigation. But Tomahawks are used by others, as you know. Numerous other nations have Tomahawks. They buy them from us.
Right. None of whom are involved in this. So it couldn't have been them. That's about as basic detective work as you could do.
But I will certainly, whatever the report shows, I'm willing to live with that report. Yeah, please.
All right. Well, Fox News even had to shed some doubt on this line of bullshit here. Watch Fox News calls out Donald Trump for lying about the Tomahawk missile strike on the girls' school in Iran.
Jen, in that news conference was about the strike on the girls' school that's next to a base in Iran, and it was a Tomahawk missile. The president saying Tomahawks are used by other countries, but an investigation is ongoing. What do we know about where that stands?
Well, that was a bit surprising to me because basically the U.S. has Tomahawks. Tomahawks have to be fired from either submarines or from warships. The Brits and the Australians have Tomahawks, but they're not part of this conflict. And then you also have the Japanese who are in a testing phase. So it seems highly unlikely that it would be anyone's Tomahawk other than a U.S. Tomahawk that hit that school. And I think the president knows that. He just knows that this is certainly a mistake, a big mistake, and it's being investigated, but he's trying to sort of muddy the waters by talking about the Tomahawks.
Yeah,
right. So in other words, he's lying. So if he's trying to muddy the waters about the Tomahawks, why might he be covering for this? Is it that they deliberately targeted a school, or is it, as Tucker Carlson suspects, and I share this suspicion, that this is a consequence of our AI targeting systems that we are now using, which we told you was going to be extremely dangerous for exactly this reason not too long ago, and it doesn't seem to have taken too long for a mistake, quote unquote, like this to happen. So here he is with Colonel McGregor on his show in a recent episode, explaining his theory on how this girls' school strike happened.
For me to imagine that an American would press go on a Tomahawk headed for a girls' school, I just can't believe that, and I don't believe it. But I do believe that we have autonomous weapons at work, and that some of these targeting decisions are being made by machines, not people. There's a park called Police Park in Tehran that apparently was blown up because, and you can understand if it was an AI program making these decisions, it says police, and that's enough. I'm just guessing. I don't know why it was blown up, but it was a park. No reason to target it. That's
see, that's a good guess, and that's a good insight. It's called Police Park, and so what does a robot know? A robot hears the word police. Why do you think we have to say words like grape or PDF file here on YouTube? Because the sensors are not people; the sensors are AI. So if a sensor hears us say grape, even if it's in context that is not in violation of any rules, it could mistake it for a violation because there's no person there who has the common sense to say, "Oh no, this is an error." Now,
and frankly, the people are not much better than the AI. In fact, I strongly suspect that the people they give us are AI.
Are AI, exactly. But that's the problem. That's the problem. Now, it's difficult. It makes it difficult for us to do a YouTube show at times. But of course, this is very, very low stakes compared to targeting strikes with missiles. So, Police Park, police, boom. Oh, girls' school right next door to the IRGC target, boom. Right? A lot of people assume this can't be as bad as it is because they assume that the people building this AI are more human than they are, but they're not. They literally don't care. They literally don't care.
Well, we saw what
the point of the AI is to allow these mistakes to happen and have an AI system to blame for it, so there's not a human being on the hook. That's the whole point.
Well, and we saw what just happened with Anthropic when they tried to draw the barest of lines. The barest of lines. They were totally good with being integrated into the Pentagon and their weapon system. What do you think? You think Dario Amodei thought the Pentagon is like Starfleet? You know, they go around spreading peace and following some kind of prime directive. He knows what the fuck the Pentagon is. This wasn't some lefty cuckoo bird radical. The barest minimum of ethics. He said, yeah, we don't want weapon systems autonomously making these kinds of decisions, and we don't want our technology used for mass surveillance of Americans. That was enough for them to move heaven and earth to disengage this company from the Defense Department, which is not going to be easy because they're still using it because they have to. It's completely integrated into their systems already. They're willing to go that far over that minimum proviso that he tried to impose.
Well, this is why. The point of this, the point of AI, is to have a non-human scapegoat to blame for mistakes that would otherwise be the responsibility of human beings.
Suggests that autonomous weapons, that machines were making these decisions, and that strikes me as totally wrong.
It is totally wrong, but here you can see the Washington Post on March 4th. To strike 1,000 targets in 24 hours in Iran, the U.S. military leveraged the most advanced AI ever used in warfare. Anthropic's Claude partnered with the military's Maven smart system, suggesting targets and issuing precise location coordinates. And so Mark Ames asks, does this mean Claude slaughtered 185 schoolgirls? To which I responded, yes. I've said many times that to sociopathic oligarchs, the main benefit of AI is its delegation of responsibility to robots and away from humans. This way, when something goes wrong, quote unquote, and the military blows up an elementary school, there's no person on the hook for the mistake. It was just a system error. And like I said, it is impossible for people to wrap their heads around the cruelty of this because people say, well, how could you design a system that can just erroneously take out over 150 beautiful, innocent children who wanted no problem with anybody. What kind of person would design a system like that? Well, the answer is these people. And I know this from my time working on the gig apps. I won't tell the whole story now, and it's obviously an extremely trivial example compared to this one. But when I was driving for Uber, I got deactivated because I failed a selfie recognition test because I had some facial hair that in my profile picture I didn't have. So they thought another person, an AI thought another person was driving on my account.
Dude, did I send you this story? Because I knew it was your kind of story. They use an AI system nationwide that reads license plates. And sometimes it gets it wrong. And the cops will come because they confuse your license plate with a wanted criminal. This freaking guy, it misread his license plate as a stolen car. They wound up mauling this poor bastard with police dogs.
Wow.
Based on this AI misreading his license plate.
No, it's absolutely sociopathic and absolutely cruel. And like
then to justify it retroactively, they still charged him with resisting arrest.
Oh, really? Really? Wow. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. But yeah, I mean, so I could have gotten fired. I had to go back and forth with phone support literally 10 times. They told me there's absolutely nothing you could do. Finally, on the 11th time, they told me to drive to a green light hub where I could talk to human support. There were only 3 green light hubs, I think, at the time in all of New York State. One was in Queens, one was in Suffolk County. I think one was in like Buffalo or Rochester somewhere. And so we've done stories before where we talked about, I forget the exact number, but something in the ballpark of half of all gig workers have dealt with unjust account suspensions or termination based on AI error. And because you're an independent contractor, there's fuck all you could do about it. You don't have any rights or recourse or anything like that. And so again, not to compare the two, one is much more trivial than the other, but it is indicative of the mindset of the people who build this AI. They don't care about humans. They don't like humans. They relish in the thought of robots outnumbering humans because they prefer robots to humans. So that's how a thing like this happens. And I think the reason why most people don't see it coming is because they just can't wrap their head around how cruel and insensitive you must be to be okay with robots making what in this case are life and death decisions regarding innocent children. But that's who you're dealing with. And so it looks to me like, as Tucker said, this was a result of an AI mishap, just like the police park bombing was probably a mishap because the word police was in the target. So bang. It's extraordinarily terrifying. It's been terrifying for a long time, but now you're talking about literal matters of life and death. Go ahead. Anything?
I didn't. I thought you were going to throw up a video or something.
No.
It's terrifying that a half-bright drunk like Pete Hegseth is the defense secretary, whatever the fuck they call that department. I'm sorry, I'm not calling it that. At this moment, that this technology and serious decisions about this technology have to be made. That you've got, you're not. I'm not saying previous people who held the job were wonderful, loving people with joy in their hearts, but this guy is a crackpot. Like, you're talking about somebody who will just drunkenly stumble us into the end of the world.
Right.
And, order another scotch while he's doing it. Like, this is just about the worst administration that you could have at a moment when basic decisions about literally the survival of the human race regarding how we handle AI have to be made. And you have a lot of people who will point out, I have long argued that the people who say that they're really exaggerating what AI can do, I think they're really exaggerating how exaggerated it is, because mostly it does work. But Yeah, like you can trick it. I saw a video that was a very clever way to show the limitations of its ability to work through problems. Somebody asked it, should I walk or take my car to the car wash? And the AI told, well, it's healthier to walk. And he's like, well, then how would I wash my car? So, okay, if it's still that dumb, do you want it making targeting decisions? If it's getting people mauled by police dogs by misreading license plates, do you think it should be handling deadly weapons of any kind, even a pistol?
Yeah.
A
Why? Because it's more
like,
efficient. It's more efficient for the money we spend on the military. I think you can hire people to do it. Right? It's not like expense is an issue in the United States military.
You're right. What rationale would you have other than the capacity to commit mass murder
and shift blame
on a scale that humans couldn't?
Yeah.
And shift blame. But you're also talking about a technology which Pete Hegseth is not going to be looking into. That we have multiple experiments where AI decides to start nuclear war rather than be deactivated.
Right.
Like, Jesus Christ, it's like nobody's ever fucking watched a science fiction movie.
Yeah. No, it's really terrifying. It's really terrifying. And the point of this is that the errors are a feature of the system. It allows them to skirt blame for quote unquote mistakes. Right. Because the argument, like the counter argument is, well, now you're just blaming AI for this when the United States has been committing war crimes for decades. Yeah, that's the point, is they don't need people to order them anymore. You don't need a Henry Kissinger saying everything that flies on everything that moves anymore, because now you just put it in the hands of the computer and the computer does it for you, and there's no one on the hook for that. That's the whole point. All right, let's move on right along. I got to be part of this. All right, folks. So hang on to your heads for this segment, because this is going to make your head spin, just like it made my head spin putting it together. There's really no rhyme or reason to this next piece. This is just a whirlwind of insanity, courtesy of the 47th president of the United States, Donald John Trump. This, I think, is a good introduction into this segment here. Glenn Deason tweets out the clip of Donald Trump at one of two events yesterday. So this was at the Congressional Institute. So I guess this was a friendly crowd, as opposed to the press conference that he did where he took questions from reporters later on in the day. But yeah, this pretty much sums it up. No other president can do some of this shit I'm doing.
No, I don't want to brag, but they've said this about a lot of things. No other president can do some of this shit I'm doing.
Dan, you should be very proud. You should be really proud. So here he goes on. Trump, why didn't we just capture their ships? We could have used them. Why did we sink them? It's more fun to sink them. Audience laughs. So here he is talking about the Iranian Navy.
The Navy is gone. It's all lying at the bottom of the ocean. 46 ships. Can you believe it? In fact, I got a little upset with our people. I said, what quality of ship? Excellent, sir. Top of the line. I said, why did we just capture the ship? We could have used it. Why did we sink them? They said, it's more fun to sink them. I said, that's they like sinking them better. They say it's safer to sink them. I guess it's probably true. But
all right, so there you go. Totally unhinged there. Okay, so now he goes to the press conference. So that was the warm-up gig. That was the warm-up gig. Again, tough to make sense out of any of this, folks. Just kind of go along for the ride here. Glenn Deason again. Trump is now completely unhinged, claiming that the Iranians told Steve Witkoff, we want to continue to build nuclear weapons. So, okay, so remember when I think everybody kind of had this moment in 2016, and I have fully admitted in the past, even though I didn't vote for Donald Trump in 2016, I was rooting for him to win the general election once it was Clinton versus Trump, and I was glad that he did. It was very exciting. And, yeah, exactly. But
you're not alone.
No, I don't think I'm alone. But I think if I could admit that, I think I can also admit, and I think everybody could admit, I don't want to speak for anybody, but I think broadly speaking, it's true that people did this kind of like very bizarre, like reality check, like pinch me. Am I dreaming? Is Donald Trump gonna actually be the president? Like, how is this gonna work? because he's fucking nuts and he's such a bullshitter. And what happens if he's in a very serious situation? This is the guy we have. But in the first term, he was able to more or less avoid these kinds of situations by, like, you know, not invading Iran. But here he is in that very situation that I think a lot of us pinched ourselves about in 2016 when he won. And now he is just forced to bullshit and backtrack and deflect even when the stakes are as apocalyptic as they are. So now here he is saying that the Iranian negotiators told Steve Witkoff no, they wanted a nuclear weapon, which again is just completely pulled out of his ass.
Well, and actually, didn't Kushner
told
and Witkoff, like right before we attacked them, say they were willing to give up their civilian weapons program?
Well, yeah,
which had
they
always
were
been a red
negotiating
line for them. Yeah.
Well, he's going to get to that in a minute. But first, Witkoff.
Just a short while ago, they told Mr. Witkoff, who is standing right over here, they said, they actually said, we want to keep building. Essentially, in a real nutshell, we want to continue to build.
In a real nutshell, that's what they said. I don't have an exact quote because they never said it. You know, I'm just making this up. So I have to say, in a nutshell, what? What happened in a nutshell?
And by in a nutshell, I mean they said exactly the opposite of that.
Yeah, in a nutshell, I mean this is all total bullshit.
We want to continue to build nuclear weapons. If we didn't knock out Midnight Hammer, if we didn't knock out their Iranian potential, if we didn't do that with Midnight Hammer, they would have had a nuclear weapon. They would have used it long before now. And at a minimum, Israel would have been annihilated.
Okay, so they wanted to have a nuclear weapon.
Yeah.
No, that was right around the corner from happening now. They wanted to have a nuclear weapon. And to your point, here he is now essentially trying to blame this on the advice of his inner circle. Kushner, Witkoff, Hegseth, and Rubio. Now he says, you know, based on what they told me, I thought they were going to attack us.
It was very quickly approaching the point of no return, and the United States found it intolerable, in my opinion, based on what Steve and Jared and Pete and others were telling me, Marco, so involved, that I thought that they were going to attack us. I thought they would, if we didn't do this at the time we did it, I think they had in mind to attack us. And
yeah, based on what everybody in my inner circle was telling me, i.e., it's their fault. You know, I was listening to them. You know.
I can't believe that. I can't believe he's throwing the people around him under the bus.
Yeah.
It's really unlike him.
You know, all these people around me told me that the country was going to be attacked unless I did this, and so I did it. You know, based on them. Rubio, he was very involved.
The point of no return, and the United States found it intolerable, in my opinion, based on what Steve and Jared and Pete and others were telling me, Marco, so involved.
You know, I was on the golf course. I'm trying to enjoy an Arnold Palmer, and they come up to me and they tell me all this stuff. And so I said, okay, I guess we have to do it. You know, it was them. They are the ones.
I'm in my usual spot with my Groucho Marx nose and glasses and mustache, parked outside the junior high school with my binoculars, just enjoying the scenery. And they're telling me, sir, you have to order this attack. I was busy. I was looking at the beautiful children there. You know, I love children, as you know.
I was admiring the brickwork in the school.
Yes.
You know, I'm a builder. That's what I do. I build.
I'm a builder. I said, when was the last time they repointed this place? We need to need to appropriate some funds.
Yeah, no, saying, hey, the people around me, based on what they were saying, I thought Iran was going to attack. Okay, so now it gets even crazier. Okay, because if you remember yesterday, the stock market got a little boost when Trump told CBS News that the Iran war was pretty much over. Here is CNBC breaking it down.
Breaking news out of D.C. Our Eamon Javers has the very latest for us. Eamon, over to you.
Frank, you guys have been highlighting that all major averages have now turned positive, and the reason for that appears to be a social media post by CBS News. Their reporter Weijia Jiang has just posted that she's been on the phone with President Trump this afternoon. She says, in a phone interview, President Trump told me the war could be over soon. Quote, I think the war is very complete pretty much. They have no Navy, no communications. They've got no Air Force. He added that the U.S. is very far ahead of its initial 4 to 5 week estimated time frame. That post from Weijia Jiang of CBS News based on her conversation with President Trump a short time ago. And that that comment that the war could be over soon. The war is very complete, pretty much, says the President of the United States to CBS. I think that is a clear rhetorical shift for Trump in the most recent days of this war. What he has said over the weekend was he's prepared to do whatever it takes. This will go on as long as it takes to complete the mission. Now, a very different signal here from the president. That's possibly being read by market participants as something bullish for the market, given all the concerns about the Strait of Hormuz, oil prices, and the like. It's going to leave a lot of open questions, Frank. How will the president extricate himself from the war if that's the direction he intends to go? And what will the Iranians do?
All right, so there you go. Save the stock market. Save the stock market with that interview to CBS News. So Trump says the war is very complete, and he's considering taking over the Strait of Hormuz. Like I said, folks, this is just a whirlwind. It's hard to keep track of this because that's the craziness of the times. But the president said the U.S. could do a lot about the strait and threatened Iran if it inhibits the waterway. They've shot everything they have to shoot, and they better not try anything cute or it's going to be the end of that country. If they do anything bad, that would be the end of Iran, and you'd never hear the name again. The president also said the strait is open now and claimed ships have been entering the strait, but said he is still thinking about taking it over, however that would be possible. Now, of course, Hegseth on 60 Minutes, just the night before yesterday, says what I want your viewers to understand is this is only just the beginning. We can't play that because it's 60 minutes, but that's the clip, a very short video. So some mixed messaging here. So Hegseth says this is just the beginning. Next day, Trump says it's pretty much over to save the stock market. And so the reporters asked him for some clarification on this. They said, you said the war is complete, but your defense secretary says this is just the beginning. So which is it? And Trump's answer, both.
Yeah, please.
Thank you. Mr. President, you've said the war is, quote, very complete, but your defense secretary says this is just the beginning. So which is it, and how long should Americans be prepared
Well, I think
for
you could
this war
say
to
it
last
both.
for?
The beginning, it's the beginning of building a new country, but they have
the
no
beginning
Navy,
of building
they
a
have
new
no
country.
Air Force, they have no anti-aircraft equipment. It's all been blown up. They have no radar. They have no
Okay, so it's over, but it's the beginning, and what Hegseth meant by it's the beginning is it's the beginning of building a new country. Except that seems to be the complete opposite of what Hegseth meant, because here's Hegseth this morning saying that today is going to be the most violent day of the war ever.
Yet again, our most intense day of strikes inside Iran.
So this will be the most intense day.
The most bombers, the most strikes. Intelligence more refined and better than ever.
Okay, so Trump says the war is over, and what Hegseth meant by it's only the beginning is that the fighting is over, but this is the beginning of building a new nation. Hegseth comes out today and says, no, the fighting is not over. This is going to be the most intense day ever. And if that wasn't a big enough contradiction of Trump's message, Hegseth goes on to say there will be no nation building.
Not 2003. This is not endless nation building under those types of quagmires we saw under Bush.
So that's not, because Trump said that what you meant by saying this is the beginning is that this is the beginning of nation building. We're going to build a new Iran.
You see, this is not 2003.
Oh.
This is not endless nation building.
Wow.
Under those types of quagmires we saw under Bush or Obama. It's not even close. Our generation of soldier will not let that happen again.
Okay, blah, blah, blah. So you see, this is just complete idiocy and complete lunacy. They are not even making an attempt to get their shit straight here. They're saying complete opposite things. Day after day after day, from Sunday to Monday into Tuesday, Hegseth Trump on the complete opposite message. So now Donald Trump comes out yesterday night, says if Iran does anything that stops the flow of oil within the Strait of Hormuz, they will be hit by the United States of America 20 times harder than they have been hit thus far. Additionally, we will take out easily destroyable targets that will make it virtually impossible for Iran to ever be built back as a nation again. Death, fire, and fury will rain upon them. but I hope and pray that it does not happen. This is a gift from the United States of America to China and all of those nations that heavily use the Hormuz Strait. Hopefully, it is a gesture that will be greatly appreciated. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Okay, so now he's making genocidal threats against Iran, even though he just said we want to rebuild Iran into something great. Now he's going to say we're going to basically wipe the country off the map if they don't open the Strait of Hormuz. Now, he is pitching this as a gift from the United States of America to China, and Russ is going to get more into this in his segment, which is coming up next in the stream. But, of course, Trump says the Strait of Hormuz doesn't pertain to us so much as it does to China. Here he is mentioning this in the presser.
About the Strait, you mean? Yeah, well, I want to keep it open. I want to keep it good. You know, it doesn't pertain to us so much as it does to China. We're really helping China here and other countries because they get a lot of their energy from the Straits. But, hey, look, we have a good relationship with China. It's my honor to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, those other countries also get a lot of money from China when they sell them oil, and they need the Strait of Hormuz open so that they can do that because they use that money to invest in our stock market. So Russ is going to dig deeper into this in his segment, but Gulf states could review overseas investments to ease financial strains caused by Iran war. So what he's framing as a gift to China is really a way to save the United States markets, because if those countries can't sell oil, then they are forced to divest from the American markets. And so that is why he is trying to find some kind of exit strategy here. But as you can see, this is where imperial evil meets imperial buffoonery and incompetence. You would watch that press conference and you'd have absolutely no idea what the direction of this war is. And then when you watch Hegseth run his mouth, you're even more confused than you were from watching Trump, because he's literally contradicting everything that Donald Trump just said. So if you're a betting man, and this is not gambling advice, I'd be following Netanyahu's words a lot closer than Donald Trump's, because he's the boss, and as evil as he is the rational actor here. This is just a complete clown show on our side of the pond.
Yeah, well, and you also have to look at what the Iranians are saying. From their perspective, there's no upside for them to end this war, because they believe, with tremendous justification, you know what? That's just going to give them a chance to regroup, and they're just going to come back later. We have got to make this so devastating and so costly that they never want to fuck with us again. That is their bottom line aim. And to that end, I do not think they're going to be willing to end it, even if Trump wants to. And to your point, even if Trump wants to, the Israelis won't. The Israelis, what Netanyahu say? We wanted this for 40 years, and they have. And you can go back. We showed the compilation. He has been saying Iran's about to get a nuclear weapon for 40 years. You can go back and find Netanyahu saying that in the 90s.
Oh, yeah.
How they're about to get a nuclear weapon. So, yeah, no, now that they got it and they dragged us into it, they're not letting the United States off the hook that easy. The Israelis will not accept anything less than the overthrow of the regime and the installation of a puppet government or a failed state with slave markets a la Libya that can't possibly mount a unified opposition to anything. They're not going to let the United States leave, and in the end, they're running the show. I think Trump has people around him, and there's some reporting on this saying, "Sir, this is pretty politically bad. It's very bad, and if the oil prices keep going up, sir, that's going to ripple through the whole economy." And they're going to drive us out of town on a rail. Now, I don't think there's much they could do at this point to not be driven out of town on a rail. They've done enough already before he started this war to be driven out of town on a rail. But some of the people around him, according to some of the reporting, are telling him Yeah, we need to end this now, sir. Which is probably where that's coming from.
Oh yeah. Well, no. I mean, the Wall Street Journal had a big piece about that. It's paywall protected and it's not archived, so I can't use any of it. But yeah, no. I mean, people are saying that to him. Look, he's a fucking idiot. Obviously, the guy's a fucking idiot. The guy didn't realize what he was getting himself into, even at this point. Now, it's an open question. If he did, could he have done anything about it? Because he is just so clearly under the thumb of the Israelis for whatever reason. That's not knowable or provable, but it's demonstrable at this point that he is, for whatever reason, under their thumb. He is their servant. And so we don't know whether he could have wiggled out of it, even if he was aware of what he was getting himself into. But I think it's pretty clear that he's not aware of what he was getting himself into. After 10 years of posturing about, needing to stay out of the Middle East and out of these regime change wars, what's really revealed here, alongside everything else that's been revealed, is just how shallow and incurious a man he is, and how he really just did not understand what he was getting himself into, something that he might not be able to get himself out of. And yeah, of course, the party is going to pay a huge price. Rand Paul was just on TV this morning saying oil prices go out of control like this, it's going to be a wipeout. Now, I think it's going to be a wipeout anyway. And what people seem to forget is that Lindsey Graham is running for Senate this year. People are bitching about him. He's been the talk of Twitter all day because of comments he made on TV last night. How can South Carolina vote for Lindsey Graham? Well, what was the first endorsement Donald Trump made in the 2026 cycle? Lindsey Graham. He endorsed Lindsey Graham in March of 2025, almost 2 years ahead of the midterms. He endorsed Lindsey Graham. That was his first endorsement. We may get into that later more thoroughly if we have time, but I figure I'd plant the flag there in case we don't, because that's who's running the government now. The very people who you thought you were voting against in 2016.
Yep. There's all the neocons' wet dream.
Yep. Exactly. All right. You got some super chats over there?
We sure do. Nong. Listen to Do Dissidents Dish It Out, or to Jimmy being way too nice to Alex Jones. Hard decision. Hey, go easy on Alex Jones, man. You smear the parents of dead kids. They sue you to within an inch of your life. And then you gotta peddle your ass to Elon. Guy's got it rough. He's got a lot of problems.
Hey, we know Russell does such a good Alex Jones impression that Russell actually played Alex Jones in debate prep with Jimmy. Russell,
I did. So you might be
simulated debate preparation.
You might be surprised. You might be surprised at some of the questions that Jimmy lobs.
Yeah.
So, how much does Elon pay you to peddle your sweaty ass?
Yeah.
Well, what do you mean by that, Jimmy? What do you mean? Shoot skeet super sticker.
His impression's so good.
Nong. I thought Keaton had some tefillin straps on his arm for a second. I don't think you'd be seeing that.
Yeah. Is my T-shirt? Do they look like tefillin straps? Oh no, this is a Fitbit.
That.
This is a vibrating alarm clock that doesn't work, and then this is a bracelet that I wear all the time.
Tom Clubbing. JD is competing against you guys today with an interview with Professor Zhang. I know, I'm jealous. I was early on the Zhang train. I was talking about when we were hosting for Jimmy.
I know.
I thought we might be able to get him. I wanted to get him. At that time, it was difficult to figure out what his contact was. I'm sure now it's more easily available, but at that time, I couldn't run him down. AOB 52. Why did Trump say he wishes Iran had more tomahawks? Insane times. Yeah, I mean, he just says shit. Yeah, it just says stuff.
They need more weapons that we have so that we can blame them for attacks that we commit.
Yeah. MTUNIT. Send the 82nd Airborne Division to the White House to enforce the 25th Amendment.
Wow, look at that logo.
Smitty Jones the third. Keaton, your music vids can always get gayer. Embrace it. Check out the Irish artist CMAT. Her first and third albums are especially worth checking out.
Thank you.
I mean, if you do that, you got to do a reaction video.
Yeah, I'll do a reaction video.
And do one where like you're drinking, if it's really gay, where you're drinking a beer and all of a sudden like the neck of the beer goes down your throat. You're like, what the hell? Yeah. do that gag. Yeah. Burning the world. They double tapped the attack when first responders arrived. So it was by no means a mistake or AI. That's a good point. It's a good point. They indeed did. Heavy snack. The longer this war goes on, the more the U.S. hegemony delusion is shattered. And I'm just glad the boomers are still around to witness it. You know, we've had enough trouble with those people today. Don't you start. Don't you start. We just had them settle down in their high chairs with their pudding. You know, don't get them all riled up again. Heavy snack. Didn't the Lincoln eat a drone because it got too close to the Strait of Hormuz and had to retreat beyond the Lincoln's effective range? You know, I saw some stuff about the Lincoln, but I never quite got clear on what that was. All right, you want to go to some Rumble rants?
Yeah, let's do some Rumble rants over here. Let's see here. Abiding. The year 2038, Clemson student sneaks into Shady Pines. Mike out. Lindsey Graham leans in. Trump didn't stay the course. He blinked behind them. A bingo caller yells, B-52. Ham Hog. Hey, you're up against JD this morning. I chose to watch you. No need to thank me. I didn't do it for the praise. Don't tell Jimmy. Thank you, Kenman. This war in Iran ain't no party. It ain't no disco. It ain't no fooling around. Ah, good. Talking Heads reference. Love it. Love it. One of my favorite Talking Heads songs. Mark Pugliese. You might not remember from chat to chat, but I'm a boomer, but I've been fighting against the tide against my fellow boomers since 1974. You guys are right. See, there you go. See, be more like Mark Pugliese.
Why can't you just say that?
Yeah, just be Mark Pugliese.
I cannot imagine. I didn't even have it as good as the boomers. I can't even imagine having a Gen Z person come to me and be like, you fucking extras, man. You had so much better. And be like, what the hell do you mean by that? Of course we did.
Exactly.
Like, obviously. I can't blame those kids for being angry at what they don't have that I had. Like, how could you not see that?
Yeah, exactly. About Southern chemistry, Russ suspected there was something there in Laos. You forgot the possibility that the Laotian government has been testing my mass-controlled sonic weapon. Wah-ha-ha-ha-ha. Thank you, Brown. No, appreciate that. All right, let's move on to next segment.
All right. You might remember this. This was not that long ago. This just in December. Donald Trump telling you how great the job market is now that we got rid of all the Browns.
As migrants go back home, leaving more housing and more jobs for Americans. In the year before my election, all net creation of jobs was going to foreign migrants. Since I took office, 100% of all net job creation has gone to American-born citizens, 100%. In the end, government either serves the productive, patriotic, hardworking American citizen, or it serves those who break the laws, cheat the system, and seek power and profit at the expense of our nation.
Yep, Donald Trump, champion of the working man.
It was the pointless Christmas address of 2025. Remember that?
Yeah.
Big announcement.
Yeah. Here's the trick, though. 100% of zero is still zero. You see, you have to have job creation for that to really count. But technically, it's true. 100% of zero job creation went to Americans. And here he is just yesterday.
Pro-America, pro-worker, pro-family agenda. Our country is winning again, and America is respected again. And I think we have a country that's as hot as it's ever been before, maybe hotter. And I say it all the time.
So
the
hot.
King of Saudi
So
Arabia
hot.
said it to me better than
The King of
anybody
Saudi
could say
Arabia
it. He
said it.
You know, I get along with him very well, very smart person.
Did any
said,
working class Americans tell you this? Because you seem to believe that America's really hot, according to billionaires from other countries.
I say it all the time. The King of Saudi Arabia said it to me better than anybody could say it. He said, you know, I get along with him very well, very smart person.
You know who I look to for political perspective? The King of Saudi
year and a half
Arabia.
ago, your country was dead. Absolutely dead. We never thought it was coming back.
I'm sure he said this.
And now you have the hottest country anywhere in the world. It's true. We're the hottest country anywhere in the world, by far. And that's before we showed off our military strength with Venezuela and now with Iran. You know, Iran was supposed to...
King of Saudi
Now,
Arabia was very upset about the men and women's sports. He thanked me for that personally. He
yeah,
said he
now
can't
I'm not.
enjoy, varsity sports.
Yeah, now I'm not going to say there's no way that he said this, but if he said it, it reflects what a moron they think Trump is. Oh, you know what? You got the hottest country.
Oh, you
yeah.
are so hot in America.
Oh, you are so hot. Oh, I was just telling the Haram, this guy Trump, I'm gonna bring him in here and give him a night with you because that country is so hot. It's so hot. U.S. payrolls unexpectedly fell by 92,000 in February. Unemployment rate rises to 4.4%. You know what? I haven't done a segment on this. You know, you're joking about the trans thing, but Trump just put out a proclamation where he modified that and said no youth gender medicine without parental consent.
And then he changed it.
What the listen, I have never accepted the idea that the Israelis are behind the trans thing, but now I'm starting to wonder. I do not why would he soften his stance on that? It doesn't make any sense.
Well, he hardened it again because they roasted him for it. So he edited that tweet.
Oh, did he?
Did he? Took it out. Yeah. I mean, none of that's going to happen anyway because the Senate's not going to nuke the filibuster. They just said that. But he's trying to shoehorn that into the SAVE Act, which is not going to pass, apparently.
Ah, I see. Okay. All right. So
he figures the more red meat he could throw in, the more they're going to feel pressure to
right,
pass
but
it.
that's it. But that's exactly that's the opposite of
he botched it. He botched it.
Yeah. So hot. U.S. payrolls unexpectedly fell by 92,000 in February. Unemployment rate rises to 4.4%. So that's why I also wanted to play that first clip. So do you see how he's using immigrants to get working people to think he's fighting for them when really he's just using them as a pretext to create a police state and a national Gestapo? That's what that's all about. Meanwhile, it's doing nothing for you in terms of jobs. And I wasn't kidding when I said, when he says 100% of job creation is going to Americans, literally at the time that he's giving that speech, you have negative job growth. So yeah, he's talking about 100% of zero is going to Americans, right? So look at this. All right, so 2022, you're coming out of COVID, fair enough. You're going to get a big spike in job creation. And it's trending down. Kind of shoots back up towards the end of the year. As soon as Donald Trump takes office, look at the numbers. As soon as you get into 2025, you got negative to minimal job growth the entire time this guy has been president. The whole time he's been president. Look, right from 2025, job growth just completely collapses, goes negative or minimal. I thought these policies were going to create jobs. I thought they were going to create jobs. As soon as he starts to institute these tariff policies, boom, job growth collapses, as everybody said it would.
Yeah, how could
everybody said that was going to happen? Of course that was going to happen. Dude, do you know how much this is fucking the country? I can't ship stuff home from Vietnam. You know why? They stopped accepting mail to the United States because it's too much of a pain in the ass, because he got rid of the de minimis exemption on shipping, and they don't want to go through everything to figure out if it's worth more than $800. That was what they were having to do, list everything. They were like, so I went to the Vietnam Post to send stuff home. They were like, no, we don't ship to the United States anymore. Like this is how far reaching the effect of these policies are. You can't even mail stuff to the U.S. from at least this country, and I'm sure it's not the only one.
Now we no shipper to the fish fucking people. You have to you take that with you back home on a suitcase.
Sometime Viet Cong get lonely, but you got no excuse.
You want to fuck your fish on your own.
So this is Scott Bessent back in April, telling China how they have to run their economy. He's lecturing China, a country that lifted literally hundreds of millions of people out of poverty, about how they're doing it wrong. Unlike us.
In particular, is in need of a rebalancing. Recent data shows the Chinese economy tilting even further away from consumption toward manufacturing. China's economic system, with growth.
I keep telling the chairman, until your people are buying more useless plastic shit from box stores, you're just not going to have a thriving economy, and you're also not going to have a cultural renaissance like we're having in the United States.
Driven by manufacturing exports, will continue to create even more serious imbalances with its trading partners if the status quo is allowed to continue. China's current economic model is built on exporting its way out of its economic troubles. It's an unsustainable model that is not only harming China, but the entire world. China needs to change. The country knows it needs to change. Everyone knows it needs to change, and we want to help it change because we need rebalancing too.
China needs to buy more of our air fresheners and Dora the Explorer playsets in order to really have a thriving economy and also to have a quality culture just like us. Try the Cheese Whiz, folks. It's delicious. China exports. Remember how? So he said this is right after Liberation Day. You remember they were sending Besant out to make this. He was making this argument a lot. How China, their economy is just completely arranged incorrectly, and they're going to have to fix it. And he also said China has no cards. Right? Remember he kept saying China has no cards to play. They're going to have to come to us. They can't go on like this. We were going to devastate them with these tariffs. What happened? China exports sharply beat expectations as trade surplus in the first 2 months surges to highest on record. Highest on record. This is almost exactly 1 year since Liberation Day, right? I believe that was April 2nd or April 3rd that Trump came out with his big whiteboards of all the tariffs they were going to impose. So we're almost at the 1 year anniversary. So how'd that turn out? China wisely ignored Scott Bessent's advice, and look how that turned out. China's trade surplus rose to its highest on record in the combined January-February period, while exports massively beat expectations, underscoring the resilience of the world's second largest economy, despite trade tensions with the U.S. China typically combines January and February trade data to smooth distortions from the shifting Lunar New Year holiday. The trade balance surged to $213.62 billion, compared with expectations of $179.6 billion. Exports from China rose 21.8% year on year in the combined January-February period, beating the 7.1% growth expected by economists polled by Reuters. That's a pretty big beat. That's triple what the economists said they were going to do. Imports rose 19.8% in the first 2 months from a year earlier, against expectations of a 6.3% growth. Customs data showed Wednesday. That was Bessent's expectations, I guess. Government data showed that while trade with the U.S. plunged 16.9% to 609.71 billion yuan, $88.22 billion, compared with the same period the year before, trade with the EU climbed 19.9%. It's almost like there's a whole world out there they could trade with. And they actually, do you mean they have cards? Oh, turns out they have cards. Not to mention where I am right now. Trade with ASEAN. That's the Southeast Economic Bloc here. Also rose 20.3% to reach 1.24 trillion yuan. So as anyone could have told you, and as we did at the time, China had other people to trade with. They were just going to shift their emphasis to do more exports to other people like Southeast Asia, like the Southeast Asia Economic Zone. That was obvious that they were going to turn there. And that the Europeans, what, man, they're broke. They got freaking energy prices going through the roof even before now. And now they're getting killed. Cheap goods? What, you thought the Europeans were going to turn it down? You thought they were going to turn their nose up at cheap goods from China? Yeah. And now, in the midst of all that, okay, so everything they told you a year ago has proven to be completely false. The American economy is in free fall. Unemployment is rising. Job growth is negative. China is having record exports. Record, not just maintaining, record exports. They're doing better than they were doing before. In the midst of all that, everything they told you was going to happen being proven false, they start a war with Iran. Gulf states could review overseas investments to ease financial strains caused by Iran war. Pressure on the Gulf states' budgets could cause them to review their overseas investments and future commitments as they consider options to ease the financial strain caused by the U.S.-Israeli war against Iran. A Gulf official said it could have an impact on anything from investment pledges to foreign states or companies, sports sponsorships, contracts with businesses and investors, or sales of holdings. The official said 3 of the 4 big Gulf economies, Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, Kuwait, and Qatar, had jointly discussed the strains being put on their budget and economies, but they declined to name the states. Yes, that big fat shit Gibbon was just in here. I told him his country's so hot. I told him his country's so hot to get him the fuck out of my office. The guy smelled like a fucking camel. He smelled like camel. I couldn't wait to get rid of him. A number of, I think he wore diaper. I heard scrunch, scrunch, scrunch every time he walked. A number of Gulf countries have begun an internal review to determine whether force majeure clauses can be invoked in current contracts, while also reviewing current and future investment commitments in order to alleviate some of the anticipated economic strain from the current war, the official said, especially if the war and related expenses continue at the same pace. An advisor to a Gulf government said the prospect of an investment review by the wealthy states had caught the White House's attention. And this is probably part of why he claimed the war is almost over too. They manage some of the world's largest and most active sovereign wealth funds, and Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and Qatar last year pledged to invest hundreds of billions of dollars in the U.S. after President Donald Trump visited the region. The Gulf states had pressed Trump to hold off on an attack and pursue a diplomatic solution with Iran. That's funny. That's not what the New York Times told us. But have since borne the brunt of the Islamic Republic's retaliation. They were telling us it was Saudi Arabia that made them do it, not Israel. Of course, not Israel. Khalaf al-Habtour, a prominent Emirati businessman, reflected Gulf frustrations about being dragged into a war triggered by the U.S. and Israel in a social media post addressed to Trump. Footnote that this has now been removed, but people copied it. You can find it on X easily. Quote, a direct question. Who gave you the authority to drag our region into a war with Iran? And on what basis did you make this dangerous decision, he said on X. Did you calculate the collateral damage before pulling the trigger? He pointed out that the Gulf states were expected to be major funders of Trump's plan to rebuild Gaza and backers of his wider Board of Peace. He said Arab Gulf countries had, quote, contributed billions of dollars on the basis of supporting stability and development, adding, these countries have the right to ask today, where did this money go? Are we funding peace initiatives or funding a war that exposes us to danger? Now, man of the hour, Professor Zhang, laid out very clearly what this strategy is all about and what the economic consequences would be to the GCC pulling their money out of the United States. Now, I tried to find a Yanis Varoufakis clip that would succinctly explain his theory of the global economy, which I think is a fact. It's pretty much a proven fact. We'll talk about it a little bit. But Professor Zhang lays this out very clearly in terms of how dependent we are on continuing to get that money.
Is the GCC. All right? So the game plan is this. You have to destroy the GCC. Why? Because the GCC is the linchpin of the American empire. So what the GCC does is this. It sells oil, and then for US dollars. Where does it put US dollars? It puts US dollars into the American stock market. All right, so this is
This is what Varoufakis
the
talking
UAE,
about.
okay, Saudi Arabia, and Kuwait into the U.S. financial markets. As you can see, from 2012 up to today, it's been exploding. All right, because the U.S. financial markets is one of the safest places where you can put your money. The intention is this. The intention is, hey, if I cut off oil, and these countries no longer have access to US dollars, they're forced to spend whatever resources they have on protecting themselves, okay? And then guess what happens? The stock market collapses. The stock market collapses. The stock market is the real growth engine of the US economy. The entire US economy collapses with it. All right? There are about maybe 7 companies in America that accounts for about a quarter of stock market growth, okay? These 7 companies, of course, are AI companies. NVIDIA, Microsoft, Google, Apple, okay? These are the companies, and then these companies are heavily invested in by the GCC nations. So if these nations are no longer able to invest in the stock market, these companies will collapse in value. And with that, that would lead to economic depression in America.
Okay, so it's easy to ignore because I mentioned that with the New York Times, and the Zionists love to deflect attention to how much money the GCC puts into America and what kind of control that might give them over universities, over media coverage. They're right for the wrong reasons. They are right. I'll give you a very good example. If you know any libs foaming at the mouth about Iran and treatment of women in Iran, you ever hear them say that shit about Saudi Arabia? Ever? You ever hear them say that about Qatar? You ever hear them say that about Kuwait, UAE? Right, because that's control over them. Their media doesn't tell them those things. The media does not direct them towards those countries. And that is partly a result of how much money they put. Who's financing the Ellison deal? Who's that's GCC money they use to up their bid to a level that doesn't even make any sense financially. What they bid for Warner Brothers makes absolutely no sense. If they were not getting basically free money as a bribe from the GCC to get favorable media coverage, there's no way they could finance that because the numbers make no sense in that deal, make absolutely no sense. So yeah, no, there is a lot of control over the way those countries are covered as a result of that investment. But going to what Professor Zhang's saying there and what Yanis Varoufakis talks about, when we went off the gold standard and went to a fiat currency, it was partly because we could no longer sustain the economy on the premise of having budget surpluses because we didn't. The American economy was starting to stall. So we went to a fiat currency where we didn't have to be pegged to a gold standard and could run up deficits. So how do you finance those deficits? By getting these GCC countries that are on the petrodollar to take those dollars and put them back into the American stock market and into the American bonds. The entire American economy from that point on became a Ponzi scheme. This is what Varoufakis talks about, and something he gets into that's very interesting that Zhang does not. It's not his area of interest or expertise. Why did labor policies become so increasingly cruel from the 70s on? Because they have to make these corporations an attractive investment, which means they have to juice the profits. They have to get those profits from somewhere to keep those dollars flowing back into the stock market. So where do they get the money from? You. They took the money away from the workers to make. Why is America such an attractive investment? Because we're the only ones that treat our workers that badly. That is an investment grade economy. That's not a developing economy. We're the only advanced economy that fucks its workers that bad and provides this little to the population. This is to keep the Ponzi scheme going. It's to keep the conveyor belt going. They get petrodollars. Those petrodollars come back into the stock market. And that's, Zhang is touching on that by talking about how all these companies, even these AI companies, are propped up by all this money coming from these sovereign wealth funds. What Iran is doing threatens to stop the conveyor belt. And if that ever happens, the whole American economy is going to go. It's not just the stock market, it's the bond market too. You could, what that would do to interest rates if the American bond market collapses? You think you can't buy a house now? So this is the knife's edge that we're on, and this is what Zhang really gets into. This is Iran's strategy. Hit the real soft spot, hit that Achilles heel, stop the whole flow of petrodollars to the United States, and that's it. You shut down America's capacity to even finance a war like this. You shut down our capacity to make war. But if you look at everything that these guys promised when they came in, and it was very obvious. A lot of people were saying this is exactly what was going to happen even before the war, and it happened. What happened? All right, so you're bashing in a lot of heads with ice on camera, riling up the chuds. Okay, so we said this is not going to create a single job for you. Not a single job. That's not what it's about. And here we are.
Yep.
Here we are a year later, man. You saw the graph. You saw the graph. Job growth, job growth, job growth. As soon as Trump comes in and introduces these policies, job growth collapses. They don't give a shit about you. They use the oldest trick in the book. Really, it is the oldest trick in the American book. Tell white people at least you're not them, and they'll pretty much let you get away with anything. What was it, Lyndon Johnson? You tell a white man he's better than anybody else, he'll open up his wallet for you. Oldest trick in the book. Oldest trick in the book, and people fall for it every time, and they fell for it this time. And just like every other time, it's just a distraction. They were never going to do anything for you.
Yeah, and now China, they're sending diplomats in to try and negotiate something, which could lead to an even weaker position for us if they are able to work something out that, further circumvents U.S. influence and further alienates us. And this is just one of many reasons why this is as disastrous as a lot of people knew it would be. And I don't think Donald Trump had a handle on any of that. I think he just got led into this by Israel without thinking any of this through. And so, when he says this is for China, no, it's not really for China. It's to keep the investment dollars flowing into the United States, because I think the conveyor belt metaphor is really an apt one. And Iran has the kind of power and strategic location to shut this down relatively easily. And we are fast approaching that point. I mean, we're already there in a sense. And this could only accelerate.
Yeah, so far it looks like they're going to go ahead. Trump is actually supposed to be in China for the 3 days before I arrive.
Right.
They're supposed to have a summit. There's been a lot of speculation they would call it off, given what's going on in Iran. So far, it's still on. It looks like they're going to go ahead.
Yep. Well, it's clear who has the upper hand in that. No doubt about it. All right. Let's take some Rumble rants here. Angry Prole News: Australia is working with the Americans and Israelis via Pine Gap to attack Iran. Pine Gap is an unofficial American facility that works for U.S. imperialist war machine and oversees and other illegal operations. Angry Prole, DD, something you and your listeners may not know is that the agency Freedom House says they are nonpartisan and advocate for freedom, but their members have ties to the ADL, intel agencies who label countries fighting back against the U.S. as not being free. No ulterior motive there. Professor Brown note, I feel this admin finally decided to go full regard. Yeah, exactly. Everything's a scam, everything's a lie, everything's hypocrisy, and so you don't comply. Nocturnal Human, I got an example of bad AI from work. We got AI in the cameras on self-checkouts that falsely think people are stealing things when it scans their carts. Keep your cart out of view. Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me. EO Shush, when I was a kid, I used to think, what would it be like if the stereotypical Fox News watching uncle at Thanksgiving who was blackmailed by Mossad became president? Now I know. Haha, good one. Angry Prole says, in the past, Iran said they oppose nuclear weapons because they view them as immoral and against their beliefs. But now, instead of just using uranium for energy purposes, Iran is being forced to look into creating weapons as a deterrent. Virtuoso, Midnight Hammer sounds like a gay porn flick. See, this is what happens when you include Lindsey Graham in the administration in some shape or form. Thank you. Oh, George says, per last show, yes, you're definitely on Mossad's radar. My bad. It's you. Also, someone emailed me asking about searching Russ. Fuck that. As if I may be crazy, but I'm not going to TA. There you go. Thank you, oh George. Get up, King. Every time Trump makes a statement, I imagine him finishing with, yeah, that's the ticket. Yeah, exactly. Let's see. As Walter asked Matt if the schoolgirls might have been dressed provocatively. Yeah. Gina and Heidi, Dan, Raisin Cane, and Pete Snorton Cane Hegseth. Good one. Gina and Heidi, why didn't you capture those schoolgirls? Could have used them. They said it's more fun to kill them. It's a dark joke. Cool Blue, thanks for the $5. U.S. Senate Democrats with winning over majority control will need 55 seats to feasibly flip South Carolina and unseat Graham. Estimated seats 48-54 are North Carolina, Maine, Alaska, Ohio, and Texas. Yeah, I mean, that's a long shot. But, Graham was being primaried. He was actually, one of the guys who was primarying Lindsey Graham is the co-author of Project 2025. Like a real, MAGA Republican, whatever that means. But Trump shut that down right away by coming out and endorsing Graham. So even if you're not talking about flipping it blue, it could have gone from a neocon to the more old school MAGA Republican. But no, Trump jumped out right in front of that, endorsed Lindsey Graham March of last year. All right, I got some super chats.
Sure do. Heretic Miles Teg. Trump is such a fucking dumb cunt. Holy shit. Thoughts and prayers for us all, people. We're doomed. George from Australia. Yeah. Empire we are. Israeli nukes. The following is not speculation, but hands-on verification. In the 90s, 25 Israeli F-15 aircraft left the Boeing plant in St. Louis, built to carry and deploy U.S. B-61 series nuclear weapons. Let that sink in. Oh, yeah. Yeah, they've got nukes. That's not even a question. Shai Guevara, ye old England of 2008. Me. Oh, damn, this stock market is crazy. 2026 me steps out of portal wearing dystopian time traveler gear. You better strap the fuck in, kiddo. End of history, my ass. Yeah. Kuznetsky Bassane. Thank God, Yahweh, Allah, Buddha, Zeus for due dissidence. Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
That's very kind. Eric Torres. After this shit, I now support hashtag Cal exit. Only chance to reset the board. Well, we know what happened the last time states tried to secede. Satanica. Love from Bahrain. Here for the long haul. Thank you. Hope you're staying safe over there. Sasser. Keaton, since you are looking to gay up your other channel, LOL, I give my favorite alt artist, Tori Amos, a listen.
She's
you
good.
Guys,
I've heard Tori
hashtag
Amos.
justice
Yeah,
for Palestine.
Of course. Yeah. Well, her big album was 1992, so I just listened through some of that stuff. Yeah. No, she's good.
Yeah, she was very big in the, not that she was grunge, but she was very big in that era.
Oh, yeah,
like contemporaneous with Nirvana.
No, my uncle's a Gen Xer drummer. He loved Tori Amos, and he was like a metalhead, and he loved Tori Amos too. I mean, he named his cat after Tori Amos. Yeah,
Did he
she was
really?
big. Yeah.
Lee Hawthorne, whoops, took the polyamorous socialist thing too far. Now my wife's bestie is expecting. This happened while watching Due Dissidents. I blame the side. Cute. Kuznetsky was saying, DD is the hottest podcast, the very best in the world. They're very, very good. Maybe the best in the world. Yeah, he said that. He said he look, he said it's in our intro. He said, I am a dissident.
I'm a dissident. That's right.
He's a fan.
I got
He's
that
a
from
fan.
us.
Yeah.
Exactly. All right, so we are at 2,094 in the YouTube chat. And we're at 661 in the like column. Oh, so close. Can we do something about that before the next segment?
Freaking that Irishman's cutting into our action.
5 seconds to get up to 666. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. There's the buzzer. We're at 662. What, only one of you guys over there? Oh, no, we made it. 686. There we go. Beautiful. All right. All right, folks, we're going to move right on along here. Thanks, everybody, for being here today. 504 over in the Rumble chat. Appreciate that very much. All right. Let's give things a go here. All right, folks. So take a guess what Bill Maher thinks of the Iran war. It's not a difficult guess here. Here he is coming out and making his opinion known in the opening monologue of his Friday night edition of Real Time with Bill Maher. Now, his podcast is not copyright guarded, but his HBO show is. So this is audio only, but I'm sure you'll be shocked to learn that Bill Maher is for it.
This week, war. Did you hear about that thing? We bombed Iran, and it's going on. Now, have you expected me to say I hate it? I don't. Sorry. When he puts boots on the ground.
I don't think anybody expected you to say you hate it. Now, at this point, I think anybody expects when Arabs are killed for you to be for it. That's what I think. I don't think anybody was expecting you to have the correct opinion about that.
Yeah, then I'll hate it. Now I know too many happy Iranian Americans. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. I love how this guy comes out and just immediately starts insulting his own audience.
Ground?
You know?
Yeah, then I'll hate it. Now I know too many happy Iranian Americans. Sorry.
Sorry.
And you cannot name one horrible thing that has happened in the Middle East in the last 50 years and not connect it to this fascist theocracy. They're like 6 degrees of they don't eat bacon. And it's popular. I mean, Iranians all over the world are doing the Trump dance. Have you seen that? The whole world is jerking off 2 guys at once. Now,
and he stole that joke from us. See, not only is he is he a piece of shit, but he's a hack. He stole our jerking off dance number. So anyway, that's his opinion on things. Not too hard to see that coming. But he brings in his old friend Sam Harris, whose eyebrows are becoming fixed in that position. He has that like permanently like tweaked eyebrow there. What's going on with neocons and their eyebrows? You see Ben Shapiro's eyebrows recently? And people are talking about Ben Shapiro's eyebrows. We might not get to this segment today, but I put in a picture of them. Look at that. It's like his face is a caterpillar sanctuary. So let's anyway, let's go to Sam Harris and Bill Maher on the war in Iran.
Racism now than there was. I mean, I think there's certainly a backlash to black and brown identity politics, right? So we have white identity politics now on the right, which is not good. And whether you think about that as just unmasking the racism that was already there or producing new racists, I don't know how you figure that out, but it does seem like a less hopeful moment around race in America than it did.
Yes, they went to a place, as we've discussed, many people have discussed, oppressed, oppressor. Everything had to be one or the other. So the whole Middle East thing got subsumed to that.
Yeah.
Again, ridiculously. Ridiculously.
Oh, yeah.
The idea that, they didn't really think of it any further than the Palestinians are browner and poorer. They must be the good guys. Hamas, the good guys.
Okay, now why? I mean, talk about they didn't think of it beyond that. You clearly haven't thought of this beyond who's poorer. Why are the Palestinians poorer than the Israelis? You ever ask yourself that question, Mister? Oh, they didn't think it through with your fucking clove cigarette there in your porn basement.
Well, but hang on. I thought the Jews are indigenous to the Middle East. But are you saying they're white people? Are white people indigenous to the Middle East? Which is it?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's a good point. It's a good point. But okay, the Palestinians are poorer. Well, yeah, they're poorer because they had their land stolen from them. They had the most valuable resource you can possibly own as a people is the land under your feet. And it was stolen from them. And then they were crammed into an open air concentration camp. So that's why they're poorer. Oh, well, because the Palestinians are poorer, they must be right.
They must be the good guys.
They must be the good
Hamas,
guys.
the good guys. Bring on the Intifada. That's liberation. And the white people, and of course, Jews.
I think you said infatada. That might be some dish that I haven't had, but intifada.
We don't even know how to say the words, but we're sneering at people for being stupid and ignorant and unread and incurious. I can't even get the word.
Infatada, which
infatada.
We might.
Oh,
I think that's our
and it's not just that he's like tripped over his tongue. Some words are kind of hard to say. He literally doesn't know how to say it. He asks them.
Try it with rice. I think. Intifada.
Yeah.
Is that it?
Intifada.
Is that
Intifada,
it? Yeah. No, it's not like he just misspoke.
Well,
he doesn't know it.
Which you don't want to globalize, kids out there. If you're in doubt about this, don't globalize the Intifada. That's not a good thing.
No, but somehow they worked their way back after 9/11 to this position. I'm talking again about the clueless woke of the far left. The emo children of Wokeville found their way to this place where somehow the good people were the ones who violate every liberal principle much more than anybody else. Iran now, what's going on? I mean, before the war, like it's a civil war, it could be over in a week, who knows? But before that, what they were going nuts over was first just killing people willy-nilly in the streets, protesting. And before that, it was because a woman about 2 years ago, I forget the name, you might remember, would not wear or she was caught not covering her hair.
Masa Amini, I think. Yeah.
Something like that. And they killed her in prison, and then there was mass protests, and they killed all the people protesting her getting killed.
Yeah. This is, we should plant a flag here at least. This is a scandal it should be a scandal left of center that liberals in America or liberals in the West found so little common cause to make with the women of Iran over the last 20 years.
End of the whole Muslim world.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, wait, hold on. Time out. This is where the hypocrisy really gets exposed. It's a failure of the left to make common cause with the women of Iran who are being oppressed. You say that, but then you also feel like you have to take Israel's side over the Palestinians because the Israelis are so culturally superior to the Palestinians. So in other words, they're happy to blame Muslims en masse for not being Western enough or liberal enough when it comes time to justify their slaughter. But they strip those same Muslims of agency and turn them into oppressed victims when they're Iranian women struggling for freedom. See how that works? You see how they can splice this issue right down the middle and just parse out, okay, which narrative benefits imperialism in which context. We have to root for the Israelis over the Palestinians. Half of Gaza is under 18, which means half of Gaza has no political agency. Yet they cannot be treated as victims of genocide because they're primitive and backwards. But the Iranian women, no, the left owes it to the Muslim world to make common cause with Iranian women. Because why? Because we want to overthrow the Iranian government and liberate them. But you don't want to liberate Palestine. Why? Because they're Muslims. They're backwards. You see that? You see how fucking sleazy that is? You see how cheap and pseudo-intellectual that is? What pisses me off about these people is, look, I'm a shit-talking college dropout who sort of, intertwines wisecracks and dick jokes with my political opinions. These are educated people. Sam Harris really puts himself forward as a public intellectual. Bill Maher is a comic. He's a Cornell graduate. Like, why am I more curious than them? Because I'm less of a piece of shit than them. They're just intellectually lazy con artists. They're not real. Everything about these people is just so fake. We have a few more seconds. Anything, or you want me to play the rest?
Go ahead.
All right, I'll play the rest.
I mean, it was so clear in Iran, and it was so clear that it was so clear that if you talk to anyone in the Iranian diaspora, it's just excruciating, right? It's like these are the least confused people in the world, the Persians in America around this, and on the left, it's just
women are
crickets.
treated shitty by many cultures, not just
but not quite this shitty.
But not. Thank you, Sam. That's exactly.
Oh,
what
really?
I was hoping you'd back
Keep
me
you on
up,
the straight and
but
narrow.
not quite this shitty.
Yeah.
All right, so there is nothing that you could say, that you could claim. A lot of it falsely. Most of these people have never been. I've seen quite a lot of footage shot in Iran, some of it by Gray Zone, of women walking around with their hair uncovered, with none of what we've been told. It doesn't even make any sense that Iranian women would be at the level of education and literacy that they're at, which is quite high, if everything we've been told about the way they treat women in Iran is true. That how would that be? How could you have women represented in the professions? How would all these women be in the universities? How would that be possible? So at that point, you're really talking about you have an issue with a religion that has these precepts about women covering their hair, which again, I'm not even quite clear on how universal that is. Okay, so you're coming down to that in terms of reality, right? Based on the education levels, representation in universities, I think that the women in Iran are probably more liberated than the women in our allied country, Saudi Arabia. Why isn't everybody's hair on fire about Saudi Arabia? If this is really the issue, and I'm not suggesting that we should be getting involved in other people's countries and cultures that way. But if you're going to do that, why Iran? Why Iran? Because you've been told that Iran is an appropriate target for hatred of Muslims, and these countries that do the will of Israel and the United States are not to be targeted with this kind of rhetoric. That's all it is. If you care so much, why haven't intellectual dark web douchebags over the last 20 years allied themselves with the women of Saudi Arabia? That's a good question. Where are you talking about that? You're not told to talk about that. The State Department, under Democrats or Republicans, doesn't matter. They don't tell you to talk about that. You know why? Because Saudi Arabia is Israel's bitch. UAE is Israel's bitch. Kuwait is Israel's bitch. Iran is not Israel's bitch. So they lump all the Islamophobic stereotypes onto that one country, which frankly, again, given the education level of the women, you could probably make the argument that's the least appropriate country in the region to put that on.
Yes, I think that's absolutely the case. Don't forget how many girls were in school when the United States bombed the school.
In school, I thought they're kept indoors and made to cook and weave or whatever the fuck you think goes on over there.
Yeah, well, look, this is Bill Maher's idea of a culture that treats women well. I tweeted this video out a while back. I'm not going to play it. right now because we're in a little bit of a precarious situation copyright-wise. It'll be fine. It'll be over in a couple weeks. But this is porn star Tiana Trump recalling when Bill Maher paid her to have sex with him and to go slowly and kiss him as if she loved him. Apparently, she told him she was 22 at the time, that he paid her a couple grand to, give him the sort of girlfriend experience. Apparently, he realized upon her arrival that she didn't look 22, so he asked how old she was to make sure he wasn't committing a crime. And she admitted she was younger, still of age, to be clear. But this is Bill Maher's idea of liberated women. For 60-year-old creeps to pay college-age girls to fuck him slowly and pretend that they love him because he's an unloved and unlovable, nasty piece of bigoted shit. That's what he thinks of as an enlightened culture that treats women really, really well. Notice Bill Maher, doesn't have meaningful relationships with women. He pays for the simulation of a meaningful relationship, but he is the kind of guy who's going to cast aspersions on the way Iran treats their women. And I don't even mean that jokingly. Like, he believes that the idea of liberated women is that they can get paid by people like him to have sex with them. He likes that. He thinks that's a real virtue. He's very proud and happy to live in a country where he's able to do that. So, that's just a little perspective check for you when it comes to, what Bill Maher thinks is really valuable about treatment of women in this enlightened Western world, particularly in Hollywood, where, they love women over there.
Yeah,
that's not a
they love
misogynistic culture
They
at
love
all.
women.
No.
No,
Harvey
I think
Weinstein, all those guys, it's a real paradise for women over there,
Or here.
Yeah.
I think it was John Kennedy who said, "The world will not truly be free until every woman can peddle her ass on OnlyFans."
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Like, what are you trying? What are you trying to bring them? This is part of what's really remarkable to me at this moment in history. How on earth do you get to a place that you think we are in a position to lecture anybody about what combination of cultural elements leads to a happy society? Half of our people are on fucking psychotropic drugs.
Yeah.
What you're going to tell them how they're supposed to live? You really look at who the president is. You really think we're in a position to critique anyone else's government or way of life? We're good, so they could be more like us. What's in it for them to be more like us? I mean, really, I make jokes about it, and a lot of people do, but really, so what is it? Like, what are they lacking? The ability for their daughters to make porn? Like, what are you offering them exactly?
Well, that's why I made that point. That's why I brought up the thing. I'm not trying to say this. I'm not trying to be mean to the guy, but that's why I bring this up, because this does reflect his values. Like, he genuinely feels like this is a culture that treats women well because they're free to, engage in that kind of behavior with him. He thinks that's a real virtue. And I'm not trying to shame this woman, whatever. She went and she got paid. She's fine, right? But I'm not saying it's a crime that this happens, that, a college-age woman had transactional sex with an old man. But it doesn't reflect great values, in my opinion. And when you start making value judgments against other cultures to justify their annihilation, I think it becomes fair game to evaluate what you consider so culturally superior. And I do not consider this to be so culturally superior. I'm sorry, I don't.
No, it is not.
Now, on the bright side, I'm sure when Michael Tracy sees this video here, he will submit Bill Maher for the Nobel Peace Prize for learning of this exchange with this college-age woman there. As I'm sure
She was of age.
She was of age.
What's wrong with it?
What's wrong with you? Yeah, exactly. All right.
If not for women like that, I'd still be a virgin.
Yeah, exactly. All right, we're going to move on. I got another B part here. We're not done with Bill Maher and Sam Harris yet. So Bill Maher hosted Sam Harris on his podcast, and the topic of Tucker Carlson came up because, of course, apparently, I didn't watch the whole episode, but apparently Sam Harris took issue with the fact that Bill Maher had dinner with Donald Trump. And so Bill Maher starts, talking with him about, okay, well, who would you have dinner with? Would you have dinner with this person or that person? And of course, the anti-Semites came up, and this is really as unhinged as the first clip, but in a different way.
Trump here, Laura Trump. I had Charlie Kirk here. I mean, you've talked to some of these people. I talked Matt Gay. No, none of them.
None of.
And you wouldn't?
Well, I've talked to some. Who have I talked to?
I don't really talk to anybody these days because I'm too Trump deranged for the conservatives, but I'm too much of a racist prick for the liberals, so I mostly just keep to myself nowadays. I'm actually surprised to get the phone call from you. Thanks for being a friend, Bill.
So
back in the day, I mean,
you didn't think Charlie Kirk was worth talking to?
No, I would have. No, I wouldn't say that. I was just wondering if there's any.
And I probably would say that, but now that he's dead, it would probably be in bad taste for me to say that I would snub Charlie Kirk. So I'll say, okay, fine. I would have spoken to Charlie Kirk.
Anyone if this has ever been falsified, this notion that conversation's always good. Because I've had a few podcasts where
there are people who I wouldn't have conversations with.
Yeah,
the head of the Klan.
Right.
I mean, there's no middle ground there. There's no explaining.
Except when somebody gets bad enough, then it suddenly becomes
Fuentes.
Safe. You wouldn't talk to Nick Fuentes.
I would not.
Right. Okay.
No.
Yeah.
And I did Kanye and wouldn't air it.
Would you? Oh, interesting.
That's kind of interesting. I didn't know that he interviewed Kanye and then didn't air it. That's kind of crazy. I didn't even know that. Did you hear that? I didn't hear about that. That flew under my radar.
Would you speak to Tucker?
I would have to, because he's too influential, and I'm too curious as to my ability to possibly expose what the scam is with him, because it can't be that he really thinks this.
Yeah. Did you watch it?
What is your assessment of that?
Yeah, I was just about to say that. We have to figure out a way to make this happen, because Tucker would absolutely eat this smug prick alive. Absolutely just destroy him. And he's had Tucker on his show. Tucker went on the Real Time show way back when. I mean, back in his bow tie neocon days, I think. Yeah, but not since.
I'm talking about the Jew hating.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
is it just that everybody has this? Not everybody, but so many of the people we just never thought of it. Candace Owens and Kanye and Megyn Kelly and lots of these. Is it that the Jew hating was always living right below the surface? It's a little like the herpes virus. You get it as a kid when you get chicken pox. It lives in your body. It doesn't come out. It cannot come out until you get shingles later in life.
No, I think it comes out when Israel commits a genocide. That's when it comes out.
Yeah.
Right. That's when it comes out.
That's what activates the Jew hate shingles.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
And then the Jew hating, just like the shingles, it's the same virus. Is that what it is? Because, like, the permission that people have in the world today to hate Jews openly is so different than even a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago.
I wonder why that could be. Like, he's acting like this is just a random occurrence.
It's almost like something happened.
Yeah, something happened.
Something happened a couple years ago.
Yeah, and look, we don't condone Jew hate. Russell and I are Jews ourselves, but it's funny how we have the self-awareness to warn that the genocide in Gaza would cause an explosion of Jew hate. It's almost like we sounded the alarm about that because we didn't want it to happen, and these guys are now just completely ignoring that. It's so weird. I mean, people talk shit about Jews now. They didn't back 2 years ago. I wonder why is that? How could that be? How could that be? Like, never even acknowledging as a possible cause for this the fact that the Jewish state committed a genocide and insisted that it not only had the right to commit a genocide, but the obligation to commit a genocide because it was a Jewish state.
Yeah, I generally won't go down the rabbit hole with Zionists because it really is like arguing with a Scientologist. It's just completely pointless. They live in an alternate reality with their own alternate facts. There's nothing you're going to say to them that they don't have an answer for, and the answers are all insane and completely disprovable, but you could never disprove it to their satisfaction.
Right.
But that is how you get there, because to them, there's no genocide, right?
Right.
The very claim that there is part of the underlying anti-Semitism. You say to these people, so all of these human rights organizations, they're all anti-Semitic. Yes.
Yes. Yep.
Yes, they are.
Yes.
Yep.
Exactly.
Right.
Yep. Yep, 100%.
Just it's literally like I hated Jews before it was cool.
Yeah.
In some quarters. You
I mean,
must be.
Tucker is very. I mean, he's a very interesting case because he's. I mean, have you watched all these interviews? Did you watch the Nick Fuentes interview? And
Never seen anything.
Yeah, did you
just read the news.
Did you watch him with Huckabee? You didn't watch
Fuck
that?
no.
Okay,
But I read about it.
Amazing. So they say, no, did you watch his interview with Fuentes or Huckabee? No, fuck no, of course. No, I just read news articles about it. In other words, I read the New York Times articles telling me what an anti-Semite he is. And so based on that, I'm going to go on this minutes-long smear campaign. Have you actually seen the Huckabee interview? No. Listen, Bill, some like free advice for you. As long as you're expressing openness to sit down and talk to Tucker Carlson, you should probably watch that interview first because that'll give you kind of a taste of what you'd be in for if you were to ever debate him. It's just amazing. He's a Jew hater. Okay, well, did you watch what he said? No, I just read that he's a Jew hater. No, fuck no.
So the Huckabee. So
I can read the quotes. I have to see him.
Yeah. So I don't know if this was brought out.
I can read a quote from what he said. I don't have to actually watch his work before I call him a Jew hater.
Context doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't matter. I'm sure the New York Times is giving me the full picture.
Any of the coverage, but the most fascinating thing about that interview, from my point of view, is that Tucker found in his just diehard commitment to attacking Israel, he found a kind of theology, which it may be well subscribed that I'm just not aware of, that puts significant daylight between
Even though I wrote a book called The End of Faith, now I'm going to play dumb.
him and evangelical Christianity, or what is generally considered fundamentalist Christianity in America. He attacked Huckabee for defending the Old Testament in any way. So in the Old Testament, I think in Genesis 15 it says that the Jews should get the land between the Euphrates and the Nile, which is like everything in the Middle East, right? And so Tucker said to Huckabee, "You mean to tell me you'd be okay with Israel conquering Lebanon and Syria and Iraq and
part of Egypt?"
Yeah, and Huckabee's like, "Well, they're not intending to do that now." And he said, "Yeah, but if they did it, would it be okay?" And Huckabee said, "Well, yeah, I mean, it's in the Bible." And so just hung himself on the Bible. But Tucker knew he had to do that. Right. He knew he couldn't say, "Oh yeah, the Old Testament's bullshit," right? But Tucker was really saying the Old Testament's bullshit. I'm a believing Christian. Right. I'm just as much of a Bible thumper as you.
Right.
But my theology is different. My theology is pure New Testament. The Old Testament, it's got genocide in it. It's just insanity. Kill the Amalekites. That's barbarism. This is just, but it's from that frame that he can say.
There's a lot of incest. There's a lot of rape. And we know that our ruling class is for that. So are you coming out against that? Are you coming out against that? Because you serve a president who's very much in favor of those things.
Right.
I got nothing in common with the Jews. The Jews just killed Christ. I mean, to leave aside the fact that Jesus was Jewish and the Virgin Mary was Jewish, all the apostles were Jewish, leave that aside. The Jews are just, hummus-eating Christ killers. And maybe they killed Charlie Kirk. And but it was amazing. It was either amazingly cynical or I don't know if it was heartfelt. But what was fascinating to me is that he knows his audience. He's got an audience that is ready to say, "Fuck the Old Testament," right? And fuck you, Mike Huckabee, and fuck all you evangelicals who care about the Old Testament and Israel. We don't like any of this. It's all Christ is king, and that's all we need to say.
I mean, it's just amazing how he thinks he's making some kind of point there. You know what I mean? Like, you go on and on and on as if you're making some kind of an important point. What are you trying to say? Are you defending Mike Huckabee's pure stance as a true believer? Because I thought you hate religion. And so you seem to be taking issue with Tucker Carlson, a guy who considers himself a Christian but rejects some of the more extreme parts of the Old Testament. It's funny because that's the exact same kind of reformation that you lament hasn't happened in the Muslim world, right? He will always say how, Muslims didn't have their Enlightenment moment, right? Muslims never had that great Reformation where people could still consider themselves, members of the faith, but reject some of the more extreme verses in the Quran. And now he seems to be saying, what, Tucker's a fake Christian because of his attitude towards Israel and his belief that they shouldn't be granted all the land between the Nile and the Euphrates. Like, this is just what I mean by when I say, like, it's amazing how these new atheists who were sort of the precursors to the anti-woke grifters, like they're the sort of the godfathers of that space.
Yeah.
They were
They were the John the Baptists.
Yeah, exactly.
The intellectual dark web. if you will.
Exactly. Like, they were able to convince people, and I admit, like, they got me. Like, I was a fan of Sam Harris's for a while. I took his side with the whole Ben Affleck debate because I thought that he was in good faith saying that no, he's not attacking Muslims as people. He's only litigating ideas. But that's obviously not true. And I think that monologue there really points to that. You don't want a reformation. You don't have any sort of reverence for moderation or independent thought. They believe in Western domination. It's always been a front for that, and they expose themselves every chance they get.
Yeah, and also if you talk to Christians about the contradiction between the eye for an eye Old Testament and the turn the other cheek New Testament, the whole core premise is that Jesus fulfilled the prophecy and dispensed with all that, and his law is the new law.
Right.
And that part of the whole point of Jesus was to set that in the past and to move to this new dispensation.
Right.
Inherent to the premise of Christianity is that the Old Testament has been superseded by Christ. Like that's core to the whole religion.
Right.
So yes, it's completely appropriate for Tucker to say, well, no, we don't believe that anymore because Christ came.
Right.
And I'm not, everyone knows what I think about religion, right? But in terms of what Christians are supposed to believe, what Tucker believes is much more consistent with that than Huckabee trying to have this fundamentalist belief in the Old Testament as a Christian.
Exactly.
It doesn't make any sense.
Well, and this is where, Sam Harris really shows his ass because, he is a man who insists that, no subtlety within, theology is possible. That's why it all has to be discarded. But then, when a guy like Tucker has that kind of debate with Huckabee, he just rejects it entirely and acts as though Tucker's kind of pulling some grift here, as if, well, he must not be a real Christian because he's using Christianity to distance himself from the Old Testament. In other words, he's acting as if that nuance is not possible. And that's always been his whole angle on religion in general. He published a whole book, which was basically a series of conversations with Majid Nawaz about, the feasibility of reform within the Muslim world. And, his attitude is that it all just has to be discarded to the waste bin of history because it's irredeemable. And then when you see a debate there, he just takes Mike Huckabee's side. He takes the fundamentalists' side because that's what he sees as the pure representation of Christianity. And he won't look for any nuance there because he rejects that is even possible. So, yeah, pretty clownish. All right, let's take a super chat break. You got some super chats over there?
Yep. Xander Vorkov, the Iran war is brought to you by Baker's Mark. Michael Mike, the Russian bot. Trump raised employment by 1. Just put Erica Kirk on the Air Force Academy board. # winning. Yeah, we heard something about that.
I heard something about that, yeah.
French Laundry. Jimmy interviewed Alex Jones a few minutes ago. Alex was so defensive all over the place, making no sense.
Yeah, that seems to be the word on the street.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to watching that when we go off the air. Where can we find that, actually?
It should still be up on his
It was
channel.
on YouTube?
Yeah, Jimmy streamed it to his channel, and I think he'll leave it.
Okay. All right, good.
If not, you just got to go to like Infowars.com. I'm sure you can watch it there.
Heavy snack. At this point, it's called Zio time with Bill Maher. What a freaking clown that guy is. Interrobang 5,000. Jew time.
Jew time with Bill Maher.
And he's a day walker. That's the irony.
Yeah, he's Irish.
Fucking not even full. Yeah, he's half Irish. His mother was Jewish, I think. So I guess technically, yeah. According to the rabbinate, he's Jewish. And you're not. I've never laughed at anything Bill Maher has ever said. How is he a famous comedian? Oh, wait, I think I know. Got a point there. P.W. Walker, Harris and Maher are paid to fill a role. They wouldn't have a job if they strayed from the official line. That's why they were given a microphone. Absolutely. A lot of people have boosted that way. Lucifer Morningstar. That's what I'm going to name my next cat.
Lucifer Morningstar, yeah.
Yeah, that would be a great name for a cat.
Yeah, I like that name for a cat. Lucifer Morningstar.
I mean, just to see the look on the face of the vet when they ask you the name of your cat.
Well, you know what you do is what you do is you call him Lou as a nickname.
Yeah.
And then you call him Lou. And then the vet says, "Oh, Lou. So what's that, short for Louis?" No, it's short for Lucifer Morningstar.
Lucifer Morningstar. The bringer of light. Means the bringer of light. Ironically, the Chuds constantly joke about repealing the 19th Amendment and loudly lament our birth rates. What's that about? Well, because they want us to breed and not them. Not them. John Olmsted. I haven't slept a full night since the war started. I don't know how to calm down, and I feel like I'm living in crazy town because everyone is acting normal. You know, man, it's the old AA thing, man. You know, the wisdom to know the difference between the things you can change and the things that you can't. You know, you can only do what you can do, man. Like you can't do that to yourself.
That's right.
You gotta live your life. You can't live your life based on what might happen. What does he say in the Baz Luhrmann thing? He didn't write it. It was actually from an op-ed. The sunscreen thing. You know, worrying to solve a problem is as effective as chewing bubble gum to solve a math problem. Right.
Right.
It's not gonna solve anything.
That's right. Judy Denmark. Okay, Russ, if you disrespect boomers again, I'm going to start sending you my used diapers instead of paying for rumble rings. And I can still chew beef with the 4 teeth I have in my mouth. Thanks, Judy Denmark.
No, dude. It's been because I told you I responded to that one guy, and then you got more boomers pile in. It's just pathetic, man. It's just pathetic. I don't get it. I mean, Keaton, that was a very good way to put it. We're Jewish guys. We recognize that most Jews are Zionists, and we understand why people would then think that Jews are all Zionists, because most of them are. Like if anything, if you throw a fit about the observation that boomers kind of climbed the ladder at a time when it was really easy and pulled it up behind them, you're probably a fucking douchebag. Yeah. Like if you cannot acknowledge that, you're probably one of those people.
Yeah.
Like you're not really making an effective argument that you're one of the good ones if you're going to defend the cohort.
Well, no, I think a lot of people,
because it means you're not recognizing that.
No, I think I actually think that's slightly wrong. I think a lot of people who get offended by that are not one of those people, and they think that you're insulting them when you insult the boomers who pulled the ladder up. They're like, why are you saying all boomers? Which we're not. That's the exact point that we're making. Right. Just like when we talk about Jews, we're not talking about all Jews, right? But we understand where people are confused about that, right? So that's the point. Like, if you're one of the good boomers, then fucking relax. We're not talking about you. It's obvious. Right. How hard is it to understand that?
But I got to say, the more of that I get, the more I say there are no good ones, because because at core you're all fucking self-obsessed and narcissistic. Well, yeah, like that's what that tells me. That's all you're telling me when you get defensive about that.
Yep.
You're telling 100%. Me that at the least you're all self-obsessed, narcissistic, and have a really inflated sense of entitlement. Yeah. That's what you're telling me.
Well, yeah, exactly. All right. Angry Prole says, DD, you said Jon Stewart's trans joke was bigoted when you already correctly stated that the trans non-binary stuff is ridiculous. The pharmaceutical industry is profiting off all people.
Whoa. His joke was essentially that a trans person can't be a judge and that the idea of a trans judge was absolutely absurd.
Right.
I have never said anything that would endorse a view like that, ever.
Right. Of course. And the fact that the pharmaceutical industry profits off of people, that has no
Well, at the time he was
relation.
making that joke, that wasn't even a thing.
But even if that is a thing, that still does not reflect on the individual.
Of course.
Like,
Right,
it's,
sure.
it's a non-point. Angry Prole, provided you haven't blocked my email from one of my previous angry rants or vent sessions. The other day, I sent you a news story or follow-up on the World Bank and digital IDs with receipts. All right, well, thank you.
I mean, we only block emails from like psychos who send us like legal notices every couple weeks, things like that.
Yeah, right. It's amazing how hard it is for people to not readily accept something as true. Believing without proof is obviously bred into our genome. Thank you, Vienticus. Kevin, after listening to Sam Harris mindfulness tapes to manage my temper issues, I went from angry to apoplectic. Yeah, Tim Dillon did a good bit about his mindfulness things. Imagine you're a drone. Right? Breathe the drone. Breathe. Mark Pugliese, no way Operation Rough Rider was the gayest Lindsey Graham name. Ha, good one. Kinky says, Keaton loved your speech on the Jose Vega panel. Thank you. Yeah, Jose liked it too. It was great to be a part of that show. That was last night.
Did you make more abortion jokes?
Yeah, no. I only made a couple jokes. I might clip that for our channel here so people can watch it. I asked Jose about it if that was cool. Because we'll put a link to his site or whatever. But yeah, it was a good time. That was on the Declaring Independence channel yesterday and on their campaign call. So thank you, Kinky. Appreciate that. EO Shush, I'll bet Russ feels real stupid right now about his boomer take after watching Bill Maher drop truth bomb after truth bomb. Thank you, EO Shush. Appreciate that. Stoop sign, the Jew-hating shingles are the favorite ones for the Polish roofers to install. Thank you. Good one. It's a good one. Meteor Dreams. Did you see that Tyler Oliveira got canceled because of his expose on Curious Joel, the Hasidic neighborhood in New Jersey? Curious Joel is actually in the Hudson Valley near where I live. I don't know if that was the one.
Yeah, it's not in Jersey.
Yeah. Completely subsidized by the government. Brett Cooper, ALSL, covered this. Yeah, I did see something about that. I used to drive in Curious Joel when I was an Uber driver and when I was a DoorDash driver. Oh, yeah, I had to make deliveries. What's that?
You must hate tips.
It was absolutely brutal. I stopped accepting offers that went there because not only was it fucking difficult as hell, because the apartments that you have to deliver in, you walk into the foyer of the apartment building. And literally, 50 strollers just strewn about. Like, you have to, wiggle through strollers in the foyer because they don't take them up to their apartments. They all leave them in the lobby.
They have so many strollers, sometimes they have to put them in the tunnel under the building.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah. Because they don't want to schlep them down the stairs. And they all have 10 kids per apartment. So the fucking strollers are just thrown around the foyer. I don't know how they keep track of whose is whose or if they share or whatever. But driving in those it is nightmarish driving through a Hasidic neighborhood. They are the most aggressive, insane drivers. There was one time I was picking this woman up, because they have their own health centers, they're self-sustaining communities there. They got their own hospitals and bakeries and supermarkets. They are settlements in the town. And so I'm picking this lady up from a hospital, and there's a taxi line, running into the hospital to drop people off. But I'm not waiting on that line because it's 6 cars back, and she called an Uber. So I'm pulling up, and there's all these cars parked on the side of the road, and I pull up. I'm double parked with maybe half a car's width separating the passenger side of my car from the driver's side of the cars who were taxied. And this fucking guy drives behind me, the most insane driving move I've ever seen in my life. He was literally about to just barge his way through these cars. He's driving, he's honking, he keeps pushing up as if he's going to try and make a tight squeeze and wiggle through between my car and the parked car. Absolutely impossible. There was half a car, it blows my mind that he thought it was possible to fit between us. So I finally honked my horn. I get out of the car. I said, fucking wait. You can't fit here. There is absolutely no way you're going to be able to drive through there. I said, fucking wait. I'll be out of here in a minute. I pick the passenger up and I leave. They are fucking insane behind the wheel. Absolute homicidal maniac drivers. So I stopped going. That was my experience. I've never been back to Curious Joel. I'm like, no, I'm not taking trips there. Fuck that.
All right. In all seriousness, though, they didn't tip, right?
Yeah. Sometimes the food delivery people tip. The passengers for Uber, no, they did not. But yeah, no, it was absolutely brutal. Absolutely hellish experience in Curious Joel. Kenman G, after listening to Sam Harris mindfulness tapes to manage my temper issues, I went from sorry, got that one already. All right, I got to copy and paste some, but Russ, you got a couple segments here, so why don't we go ahead?
Okay. It is very, very difficult because of the censorship regime to find out what's happening in Israel. So I scoured the nets to find the most credible sources that I could. So this is one, we played this the other night. It's worth revisiting to set this up to show you how heavily locked down the information is. They happen to be live on NBC News, and they showed you the truth by accident.
What the calculation now is regime preservation. Could you get a more pragmatic figure presiding over this regime? Sure.
Aaron, I just want to break in for a moment because we're looking at live pictures in the air over Tel Aviv, and obviously, as many people know or maybe don't know, there is an Iron Dome that Israel uses as its missile defense system, and we're seeing it working now. But in some places and instances, it does not work, and I believe this is one missile feasibly that has broken through the Iron Dome.
And if you look at how quickly she jumps in to manage the narrative, no, they have an Iron Dome. It usually works. There's just one, right? How do you know that? How do you know it's just? Are you there?
Right.
I mean, I'm sure you're not there. You're in a nice air-conditioned studio in New York or Washington. How do you know? Why are you telling your viewers that? So this is part of why it's very difficult to find out what's happening there. So you got to be very careful with this. There were a couple things I was looking at using that upon researching it, I found they were fake. A lot of times there will be footage that's not even from the place it purports to be from. Like, you got to be very careful. So these are the videos I found that seem credible to me of what's going on the ground. None of them are community noted or debunked. So this is an Indian who's in Israel, who kind of seems like he kind of shot this clandestinely, showing what's going on there. An Indian worker in Israel has posted a video capturing extensive destruction across several areas of the country. There are casualties. Dead bodies are being removed from the site. As can be heard, the guy is saying, taking a risk showing his face there, man. Okay, there's no point to playing this video because it's not subtitled and he's speaking Hindi. But this is what he says according to the caption. Indian journalist on Tel Aviv, quote, I saw people dying in 100-foot deep bunkers. In Israel, the government doesn't tell you anything at all. When we visit the site, we are told there was only one casualty, but a local told us there were 4 houses and everyone died. So he's claiming, yeah, on the ground, it's a very different story from what they're telling you is happening. According to this, and this just thrown up today, Tel Aviv, 8 a.m. Tuesday, 10th of March, Iran has demolished Tel Aviv, now looks like Gaza. So here's the video. Where is that one?
Yeah. Hello.
Not seeing that on NBC. Okay, that seems like authentic footage to me, and as I said, not debunked online. Lara posted this. What is happening, Tel Aviv? Wow, 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 wow. Note, over 250,000 Israelis have now left the promised land. We're going to get into that in another segment in detail, but here's the video.
Whoa, 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 whoa. וואו! הכל נופל לנבטים, אני אומר לך, מתקפה אחת החזקות. אימא'לה, זהו.
Okay. It looks like a lot of missiles hitting Israel, at least according to the video. This is from DD Geopolitics. There's not video, but looks like the reporting on this is solid. Iran has struck Orot Rabin in Hadera, Israel's largest power station. Orot Rabin generates 2,590 megawatts, roughly 19% of Israel's total electricity capacity. It sits on the Mediterranean coast, 45 kilometers north of Tel Aviv, and feeds power to the entire central Israeli grid. And more on that subject from Truth Teller. Bunker living just got harder, and the media blackout easier. Good news, Iran's bombs make up for reverberations and base the kosher DJ can't provide anymore, and the dancing Israelis can still operate. So, hey, there you go. But it feeds power to the entire central Israeli grid. We've had reports of blackouts related to that airstrike. Looks like that is indeed real. Okay, so this comes to us from Isabako, so that's why his face is in the bottom right. But this is pretty interesting what he posted. Israel checking phones to make sure people don't upload Iranian damage. This is why it is so hard to find any footage. Look what they're doing.
אז אני רוצה ללכת מהשלום. אמרת התקהלות אסורה? רגע, אבל אתה אמרת לי התקהלות אסורה. אני אומר לך לעצור. לא, רגע, אתה לא יכול להגיד לי לזוז. התקהלות אסורה, אמרת להתפזר. אני אומר לך עכשיו לעצור. מה, אני לא הבנתי. אתה אומר לי להתפזר, אני מתפזר.
And this is what they're hiding from the public.
الظاهر في قنبلة فجرت قدام الداكندون السيارة. ده كلها السيارة ممكن معبية سلاح ولا معبية فيها قنابل فيها كل مش عارف. المهم ده كلها حياتك جات هنا قدام الداكندون سيارة الرايش ده. والعالم هنا.
All right, so now this is part of why I find these reports credible, because they have started to allow the corporate media to cover the damage. But of course, the way they're covering it isn't this terrible. Look at what the poor Israelis are going through, which represents a pivot. At first, they tried to pretend it wasn't happening. Now, too many of these videos are leaking out, so they decide, well, you know what? We'll use it for Hasbara. We'll show how terrible what's happening to the Israeli people are. So here's CNN here with a report that, and this is how, if you want some hope, this is how out of touch the Zionists are, because I think most people watch this and, get joy and hope from the idea that they're finally getting some of what they've been giving to Gaza for 2.5 years. But this is portrayed as, the poor Israelis. This is awful.
By
one of the Iranian ballistic missiles, the shrapnel. You can see the damage, what's left of here.
So at least they got someone unbiased, Oren Lieberman there.
This is a home that's been in the family for 5 generations, and by the looks of it, in 1 second this afternoon, it was.
So this is like an OG Zionist. My family was displacing Palestinians from their land long before it was even a state.
It was destroyed, and you can see what's left of it. They're trying to clean it outside, but there's nothing left here.
Nothing. Only memories.
So this is one of the cluster munitions, likely, that came from the Iranian ballistic missile. At the same time, there were a number of reports of damage all over the place, and it looks like, especially when you look around at what we're looking at here, that one came through the roof, perhaps down some sort of opening on the roof, and exploded and left this, what's left of the apartment here. And you can look in every direction. The entire apartment is destroyed, and by the looks of it, it's very possible the entire building will have to be torn down here.
Oh my God. That's just terrible.
זה בית ישן, כמעט בין 100 שנה, אין לו מקלט, הם היו במקלט השכונתי.
רצו ברגע ששמעו את האזעקות?
ברגע ששמעו את האזעקות,
He
יצאו למקלט.
speaks Hebrew on top of it. I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. Like, I don't know who the hell's watching that and not seeing karma and not seeing irony in an Israeli talking about how terrible it is. His home's been destroyed and all that's left is the memories, as if you're supposed to sympathize with that. Who on earth is watching that with any perspective other than that, karma's a bitch, right? Like, who's reading it that way? But the fact that now they're allowing the corporate media to do stories like this, that tells me these videos we're seeing are real. And this is spin. Now they've moved on to spin because they feel like they can't suppress all of the videos of the damage. So this is from DW, showing you how the brave Israelis have to move their hospitals underground.
100 beds underground, and they're preparing for more casualties. When sirens rang out last Saturday, staff at Jerusalem's second largest hospital knew it's time to move downwards into the parking garage, out of reach of the missiles.
In the middle of the night, they just suddenly rushed us all down here. It was with military precision.
This might be a good time to move back to Brooklyn.
Relocating hundreds of patients along with critical medical equipment in just a few hours is no small task, but hospital officials say they had no choice. Jerusalem has come under heavy fire since Israel...
You think that's tough? Imagine having to move everybody to a tent under fire if you're in a place with no bunkers, like, say, Gaza. Wow. How many doctors were killed by the genocidal IDF trying to serve their patients in Gaza? How many stories did DW do about that? I'm really curious.
launched its major attack with the US against Iran last week. Several Iranian ballistic missiles have pierced through Israel's air defenses, killing multiple civilians.
In Jerusalem, there are two main hospitals, so we have to service everyone who comes in. We will not close the doors. We'll take care of everyone that needs to be taken care of, and it's just a matter of making sure we have the staff and the equipment and the space.
US and Israeli defense officials are warning the conflict could stretch on for several weeks. Medical centers across Israel are bracing for more attacks and injured people.
We've just entered the intensive care unit of the hospital. Down here, there are around 70 patients right now, and they're doing x-rays here. They're doing all kinds of treatments that they would normally do upstairs. So right now, this place is filled, but they have still capacity for new patients coming in case there are more casualties in the coming days.
Where we are, it's a risk. It's a risk. It's not the first time. However, this is definitely dramatic and significant. This is not for a day or two, and we haven't planned for a day or two. We're planning for a long period of time and more patients.
All right, listen, Germany, man, Germany. I'm starting to think you guys might have learned the wrong lesson from the Holocaust. You know, the lesson from the Holocaust is not that you have to do propaganda for a genocidal Zionist state that largely resulted from your own crimes. The lesson is you should always oppose genocide, that you should always oppose governments committing similar crimes, right? That's the real lesson. If you really want to redeem yourself from the Holocaust, the answer is not on your media to do puff pieces about the brave Israelis moving their hospitals underground. The answer is to expose this criminal state and stop suppressing pro-Palestine protests within your own nation. That you want to show you learned something from what you did. That would probably be the way to do it, not to in many ways reflect the Nazi era in the way that you're treating Palestinians and in the way that you're supporting a very similar state to your own Nazi past. Just a little advice for Germany there, from which my grandmother escaped when she was 13. This is the warning coming from Iran. They sent this out. The Unit 8200 are not the only ones who can send out messages to people's phones individually. Apparently, the Iranians have that technology too. Iran to Israelis, flee. According to Israeli media reports, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard has sent a message to Israelis' phones urging them to leave the country. The message stated, the last American radar systems in the region have been destroyed. Your government leaders are lying to you. Leave the country. Missiles are on their way. No shelter can provide safety. Signed, Islamic Revolutionary Guard. Time for Iran and its Shia partners to liberate Palestine while all of the Sunni supremacist states align themselves with the Jews and Israel. Hey, there's a lot of fog around this war, quite intentionally, because of the censorship regime being imposed both in Israel and in our own country. Why are you not seeing those images in the corporate media? Why not? That's news, isn't it? Did you see how quick the NBC anchor went in to do narrative management when they accidentally showed a missile hitting the ground? Yeah. Do I think that Tel Aviv looks like Gaza? No. Do I think that they're pretty torn up? And you have other reports and videos of people who are inside Israel saying they're getting very little warning now when the missiles come in, that kind of back up the idea that a lot of the radar systems have been taken out. Yeah, I think they're being hit much harder than we're being told. Not just Israel, I think the American bases. There have been a lot of reports that a lot of these American bases have really been hit hard. I think they are just suppressing all of that information. They don't want people to know how much impact, literal and figurative, Iran's assault has had. And I think Iran is out, now that they're in it, they're out to destroy the Israeli state, to just destroy it. And I think they've been more successful than we're being led to believe.
Yeah, I mean, the question is, within Israel, who are they propagandizing to? Because, we talked to George, who lives in Israel, calls into our show. He's in Haifa. But Tel Aviv itself, I think Tel Aviv proper, and I could be roughly off with these numbers, but I think I'm pretty accurate. I think it's roughly a city of about 500,000. But the metro area of Tel Aviv, in other words, the radius surrounding Tel Aviv, close enough to the point where residents would be aware more or less of what's going on,
right.
Is in the millions. I think it's like 3 or 4 million. Like, it's a huge percentage of Israelis live in the greater metro area.
Right.
And so who are you hiding this from? Like, if they see what's going on around them, how effective is that? Is it for us
Yeah.
Does it matter what
Yeah,
we
yeah.
think?
Well, because they
people...
don't want Americans to turn against the war like they did.
Americans are already against the war. It doesn't matter. Only 36% of Americans support the war. 82% of Israelis support the war. And our government, because we're more or less occupied by Israel, we fight the war anyway. So, like, what's the point? It doesn't matter what Americans think. We think it matters what we think. All that matters is what they think. So is this helping their effort? I mean, I don't know. It just seems like it's doing more harm than good. The fact that they are censoring information just makes them look worse, because the American people clearly have no say in this. If we did, we wouldn't be doing it. So it just seems to be a miscalculation among many miscalculations that Israel has made over the past few years. I mean, they're very surprised to be in this position in the first place, where the public has turned against them as much as they have. So this whole thing is just a function of poor judgment, born of just complete arrogance and the assumption that everyone is going to view them as victims, no matter what. Look, they started the war, man. Like, what do you want? You started the war. You're getting attacked with missiles because you started the war. That's why.
Yeah, of course. No. I mean, we showed with the defiant raves. It's this whole mindset it goes back to the Old Testament. Oh, all these look at all the Jewish holidays, man. I mean, it's all about, these people tried to wipe us out, but we're still here, and they just project that onto everything, and it gives them an incredible sense of moral righteousness and impunity from judgment.
Right. Exactly. I mean, like, what do you want from people? We got O. George in Haifa, I don't wish harm upon O. George. I don't want to see people's apartments get blown up. You started the war. Like, what do you want? like that's going to happen when you start a war, right? So yeah, it's just and O. George is still rumble ranting, so I guess he's still good.
He's still kicking.
He's still all right. But yeah, I mean, look, the grip that they have. I mean, who knows? I mean, look, I'm saying, what is the efficacy of this propaganda? Given the fact that so many people are populated in and around these major urban centers, where you'd think they'd be able to see with their own two eyes what's going on. But then again, if seeing with your own two eyes affected your judgment, you probably wouldn't be a Zionist in the first place, right? I mean, these are the most propagandized people in the world, probably even more so than Americans in this respect. And so who knows, maybe they are able to just keep morale high within Israel by projecting that they're winning. I mean, I don't know. It seems like outer space to me, but then again, I think you got to be from outer space to believe in the nobility of the Zionist project to begin with. So it's hard for me to put myself in their shoes.
Well, as I'll get into in the next segment, they're not bringing their best. The best left, and the ones who haven't left are leaving. Like, you're getting down to, it's very, very much. Israel is getting down to the MAGA of the Zionists. It's getting down to the real scum. It's getting down to the real just criminal scum, because everyone who's not that, they're leaving. They're leaving, or they already left.
Right. And O. George, of course.
And O. George.
We don't.
Well, he's there for his mom.
He's there for his mom, who he says is, is caring for his mother. And when you get old, I guess they can't flee.
What are you gonna do?
I guess they can't flee to America because they get free healthcare in Israel. So what if he comes to America? He's gonna be broke, right? All right. Let's take some super chats and rumble rants over here. I got some rumble rants. I'll take. Right now, Vientikis just in. Trump administration reportedly asked Israel not to carry out further strikes on Iranian energy facilities, particularly oil infrastructure. Yeah, well, they said they were upset about the oil refinery strikes, and now, they're asking him not to do it. Okay, so they're asking him not to do it while Trump is threatening death and fury and fire if they keep the Strait of Hormuz closed. I mean, they don't. This is why doing that segment was so confusing and so maddening, because they're all over the place. Like, they're all over the place. Tegderbenamorg. Aren't Orthodox married women just as oppressed as Muslim women? Why don't we do Liberty drone strikes so Jewish women don't have to wear wigs or use sheets? Vienticus Prime, religion, the first psyop. Also, who was it that did Religulous again? Yeah, no, exactly. That was a Maher film. This is contested because historical records are a bit convoluted, but generally speaking, from a geographical standpoint, Jesus was more akin to being a Palestinian. Well, yeah, he's born in the occupied territories. Born in Bethlehem. Bethlehem is in the West Bank. That's why that's what did Rex Jones say? They turned Christ's birthplace into a graveyard. Vienticus Prime, if you're agitated by weights, use that energy to build something. Muscles. Good idea. EO Shush, a Christian would lose their shit over Muslim women getting an abortion, but kill 168 Muslim children with a bomb, and shit happens. Yep. Vienticus, boomer is just another brand of hypocrite. The generation stuff is bullshit. I've traveled a lot and can barely think of someone I've met that is truly honest and decent. Wow. Well, that is painting.
Wow, that's pretty dark.
You talk about painting with a broad brush.
I find people here are very nice.
Yeah, there you go.
I got my sunglasses back.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Judy Denmark, damn, I'm a boomer and a Jew. I have so many stereotypes to apologize for Russ. Yeah, Russ got his sunglasses back. Yeah, when full deer hunter to get those sunglasses back.
I had a very Seinfeld in Vietnam.
Yeah, you should tell that story on your channel.
I should.
Iron Dome issue reminds me of the Monty Python with the buildings that were built by hypnosis. Get up, King. The Iron Dome usually works the way pulling out usually works. Good one. This has been a home for 5 generations. 4 generations of Palestinian and 1 of Zionist. Well, yeah, I was about to say Israel hasn't even been around for 4 generations, but the early settlements would have predated the formalization of the state. So if you go back to the 30s, I guess that's 5 generations. Yeah.
Oh yeah. No, you had them starting to go in with Herzl, I think, in like the late 19th century.
Yeah,
like the really early colonists,
the really early ones. So that would have been more
going in. Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
I'm saying that would have been more than 5 generations, but yeah, this one would have been. Yeah, this would have been like in the 30s, right? Something like that. Whatever the math is. Here, I'm going to skip the line for George. The government has a total blackout of what's happening in Tel Aviv. I've seen video of soldiers removing CCTV cameras there. Reportedly, they're even shutting down internet access around devastated areas. Okay, so maybe they are able to. Maybe if it's that strict, maybe they are able to just be like, hey, get underground and wait till it's over and we're winning. I mean, who knows?
Right.
Maybe they can hide it from them. Thanks, George. Stay safe out
Thank
there.
you, man.
All right.
That's our on-the-ground man in Israel.
Yes, that is our resident-based Israeli dissident. Rare breed. All right. Let's keep going.
Okay, so this is kind of the second part of this story. So here's an example of how people behave when they're on their own land. Despite the extremely dangerous and unlivable conditions, Palestinians in Al-Shujaya, and I'm glad you took that down. That's important context. And other neighborhoods where the Israeli army insisted on expelling residents are refusing to leave. They continue to hold onto their land, living among the ruins, determined to stay rooted in the place they call home, even as bombs fall and services collapse. So this was posted before the so-called ceasefire. It never really became a true ceasefire. That's April 16th, 2025. So let's see what this man who's actually in his home has to say. We are steadfastly Sorry about that. I had to blow it up so I could see it. What are you doing here in Al-Shujaya when it's dangerous? We are steadfastly staying here and want to die in Al-Shujaya. And I swear we will never leave it. Listen, artillery or not, we are going to sleep here and we will die here. Listen, artillery or not, we are not afraid. We want to die on our land in Baghdad Street. This is our land, and we will die on it. We will die on our land and will not die any other way. We would rather leave carried on shoulders rather than surrender it to Netanyahu, the dog, the undignified. Okay. That's a guy who's on his land, man. That is a guy on his land. He doesn't care. He's got bombs going off literally in the background. He's sitting there in the ruins. Don't care. I'm not leaving. This is my land. This is how people behave when they're Eastern Europeans on a vacation in the Middle East and calling it a country. Ben Gurion Airport packed with Israelis fleeing as war with Iran escalates. It's the promised land when you're stealing Palestinian homes, but when bombs start falling, suddenly it becomes unpromised. Compare that to the Palestinian man sitting literally in rubble with bombs going off in the background. I think it's pretty clear who's actually in their home and who is not. There are other videos going around of Israelis swarming the airport, although they're not allowing a lot of them out. Reports of chaos at Ben Gurion Airport in Israel as Israelis attempt to evacuate after the closure of the airspace and Iranian missile attacks. Date of this footage is unknown, but people want to leave. Some reports say over 10,000 have fled since February 28th. Now, we don't know if that's true. It's very difficult to get these kinds of numbers, especially given the way that Israelis are making it very difficult. The Israeli government's making it very difficult for them to leave. A lot of people are going through the border into Egypt to get out through Tabay, which Huckabee recommended in his grotesque video there. But hey, Kerry Burgess here. This is November 3rd, 2023. He was singing my song. This is the song I've been singing for a long time. So, we get accused a lot of being black-pilled, but I consider this one of the most white-pilled, hopeful segments we've ever done. I'm going to show you here that Israel is not sustainable, and anyone with half a brain who knows it. And, more to the point, people who can leave are leaving. So a lot of these Israelis, you got the Ashkenazi master race part of Israel, and then you got the darker Israelis who often don't have the dual citizenship and the financial privilege to leave. But we'll get into that. The rich white Israelis will eventually get fed up living in the desert, continuously under fire. They will leave and it will all be over. Better for Israel to stop the land grabs, withdraw from the occupied territories, and agree to a peace with their neighbors. I have been saying this forever, that in the end, the kind of people the Israelis are tend to be pretty, upper class. They expect a certain level of comfort. They're not going to live like this forever. They're just not going to live like this forever.
Well, it's even better now. They're coming back. A lot of them are coming back to Mamdani-stan now, New York City.
They're coming back to Mamdani-stan.
You should greet them at the airport. Welcome.
Welcome back, my brothers. Welcome back. Welcome back, cousins.
Yeah.
Welcome back. Unka. God chosen people when they remember they have dual citizenship. You can see all of the planes leaving. All the planes leaving. It's funny, man. This is your true biblical homeland. Why you have dual citizenship? Why you have dual? Almost like you got one foot out the door the whole time. Almost like this whole thing has just been theater. It's just been theater. It's just been pride theater. Yes, this is my home. Oh, wait, hang on. They're going to bomb us? Well, maybe it's not my home anymore. Dimitri Lascaris, who is a politician from Cyprus. We covered that at one point. He's been bravely speaking out under a lot of political fire about how they're trying to colonize Cyprus. How you have very much like they're doing in Thailand, where you have whole kind of Jewish colonies. Like, what's the name of that town? Curious Joel. How do you say it?
Curious Joel. So it kind of sounds like
Joel.
It sounds like
Right.
curious, like Curious George, but it's curious.
Right.
Yeah, Kiryas. Curious Joel. Yeah.
If you're curious about what it's like to fuck through a sheet, you come here.
Yeah. They
So
should have
Dimitri-
a cartoon monkey named Curious Joel.
Times
A
of
cartoon
Israel.
Hasidic monkey. That's a good character. Little girl. He asks. He holds his hand like this all the time.
Why do you want to go down into the tunnel? Curious?
Yeah.
What do you want to show me down there?
Yeah.
Israeli Airlines to start outbound flights early Sunday, limited to 70 people per plane. And Dmitry Laskari's comments, starting this Sunday at 8 a.m., the genocidal Israeli regime will allow a maximum of 2 narrow-body aircraft to depart per hour from Ben Gurion Airport with no more than 70 passengers per flight. This will prevent a sudden mass exodus of Zionists from occupied Palestine. Yeah, why don't you let people leave? Now, they did the same thing during the so-called 12-day war, and they said it was so that the airport wouldn't get overcrowded. Yeah, that was why. Israel tells airlines not to let Israeli citizens leave even once repatriation flights start. So they had the rule because they had Israelis who were stranded abroad coming back. They started having flights bringing them back. They instructed the airlines, you can't then, once the plane is empty, take Israelis out. Their excuse was they want the airport to get overcrowded. Oh, yeah, that was why. That was why you didn't want crowd to get there. Well, so what about the people who are coming in? They're not going to crowd the airport? Why don't you limit it to the same number of people coming in then? No. Because they know people want to get out. So this is from the Middle East Eye. This was written in June, right around the time of that conflict. As Palestinians are massacred for staying, Israelis are desperate to flee. By the end of 2003, the Israeli government estimated that more than 750,000 Israelis were living permanently outside the country, the majority in the U.S. and Canada. So this article kind of establishes this didn't just start. This has been a long-term trend. A lot of Israelis say, this is really not what I expected. I've been molested like 17 times. I'm not even out of high school yet. Maybe I want to go live someplace else. Of the estimated 600,000 to 750,000 Israelis living in the U.S., 230,000 were Israeli-born Jews, meaning children of Jewish settlers in Israel. According to Israeli government figures, I didn't know we had that many Israelis in America. According to Israeli government figures, between 1948 and 2015, 720,000 Israelis left the country and never returned. By 2016, an estimated 30% of French Jews who emigrated to Israel ended up returning home to France, despite intense efforts by Israel and Zionist groups to attract them and keep them in the country. In 2017, the Israeli government was so concerned about the growing emigration of Israelis to the U.S. that it began offering more benefits and services to those willing to return and encouraging others to come back. Indeed, that same year, Israeli Minister of Science and Technology, Ophir Akunis, also temporary pilot of the Millennium Falcon in the prequels, attempted to lure expats in Silicon Valley back to Israel by offering scholarships to complete their doctorates. He was unsuccessful. In fact, Israeli demographers, including Sergio Della Pergola, the country's top population expert, have been predicting a mass exodus from Israel for years. This is very revealing, kind of going back to the video we showed. In Gaza, as Israel continues to use starvation as a weapon of genocide and ethnic cleansing, A Haaretz report from earlier this month showed that most Palestinians held firm in their desire to return to their homes, defying Israeli assumptions that they would rather leave. By contrast, the same report observed that 3 times as many young Israelis now want to leave the country compared to the early days of the war. As one put it, quote, "War is a double-edged bitch. Israelis aren't suffering like Gazans, but more and more don't like living here either." You know why? Because it's not their fucking home. It's not their home. They're not the indigenous people of that land. That is obvious. That is all you have to do is look at an Israeli. They look like what they are, Poles with a tan. They look like Polish people and Russian people who have been out in the sun for a while. 972 magazine, this is just from this January. Why Israelis are leaving in record numbers. They are leaving. Increasingly, Israelis are not simply leaving, but fleeing, buying one-way tickets with only days' notice, often with no intention of returning. According to an October 2025 Knesset report, Israeli immigration surged in 2023 with 82,800 people leaving the country for extended stays, a 44% increase compared to the previous year. October 2023 saw a particularly sharp spike following the outbreak of the war. The exodus continued into 2024, with nearly 50,000 departures recorded in the first 8 months alone. For the first time, Israel registered more long-term immigrants than returnees, with 2023 marking the largest gap between departures and returns in the state's history. The pattern persisted into 2025. In its end-of-year report, Israel's Central Bureau of Statistics found that nearly 70,000 Israelis left the country over the course of the year, while only 19,000 returned. These figures were corroborated by a report published by the Taub Center for Social Policy Studies, which found that after years of steady growth, Israel's population growth slowed in 2025. Researchers attributed the shift primarily to the sharp rise in emigration, alongside declining fertility rates and increased mortality linked to the war. In total, over 150,000 Israelis have left the country in the past 2 years alone, rising to over 200,000 since the current government took power. It is important to emphasize, so he has a bunch of interviews with Israelis. Definitely check out this article. The interviews are really fascinating. Like he interviews Israelis who were activists working with Palestinians who left because they feared for their lives. They were talking about how once the war broke out, they knew activists who got attacked, one who almost got lynched for speaking out against what IDF soldiers were doing. You know, this is what I mean. You're down to the scum. Like any Israeli who's not good with this, they're leaving or they left already who don't want us. So yeah, they interviewed some people who were like, look, I got to a point I felt like the only thing I could do to strike out at the state was to not be a part of it. Like there wasn't really much I could do inside of it at this point because it became, one of them really describes, he says it was always there, but it was like really after October 7th watching a state turn Nazi. Like he was saying, it was always under the surface, but it just became a fascist state after that. So definitely check out this article if you get a chance. It is important to emphasize that most of the Israelis interviewed for this article are Ashkenazi Jews, members of the country's ruling hegemony. Many hold dual citizenship, often obtained through European ancestry tied to families who survived the Holocaust. Those who do not have a second passport have nonetheless been able to create exit routes through higher education, professional mobility, or a spouse's citizenship. At the same time, it is also crucial to note that large segments of Israel's Jewish population, mostly Jews of non-Ashkenazi origin, lack any realistic option to emigrate. So that's the other group that's still there. They're trapped. This group, which constitutes roughly half of Israel's Jewish population, consists largely of descendants of Jews brought to Israel by state authorities in 1949 to 1950 from the Middle East, Africa, and Asia. In Israel's early years, they were used as pawns to boost the Jewish demographic share of the population and have since been subjected to persistent and well-documented social and economic discrimination. So, you know how the Zionists will always try to tell you, you don't know what you're talking about. It's not a white state. So this is who they're talking about. They're talking about the economic underclass that they brought in to outnumber the indigenous people of the land after the 1948 war. Yet, regardless of these internal hierarchies, both groups are far less exposed than Palestinians to the daily violence Israel unleashes across the land. And Jewish Israeli citizens retain the ability to leave, if only temporarily, and to return at will. In fact, Israelis returning after extended stays abroad are entitled to generous state benefits. They got to bribe people to come back. They got a whole program to try to get you to come back. They'll give you money. They'll pay you off to get you to come back. In this sense, Israeli citizenship operates as a form of colonial privilege. It grants members of the hegemonic group the ability to abandon the project when its political and material costs become unbearable. Yeah, so things might seem very dark and very hopeless right now. I have been on this page from day one, and I know some people think I'm being too optimistic, and maybe I am. I hope I'm not. I don't think the Zionist project is sustainable. I don't think it's sustainable. It is being propped up by the American military and American money, and it can only continue as essentially a failed state. Like, if you look at what's going on internally in Israel, it is a failed state propped up with American money. You take away that money, that whole state's going to collapse like a house of cards. What's going? Look, everybody who has prospects is leaving. The only people staying there are the real psychos and these people who are descended from darker skinned people who were brought in, who don't have that dual citizenship. They don't have that Europe hookup. That's it. You cannot sustain a state that is absolutely despised by everybody around the world. You're seeing increasingly people, there's a video going around this week where Brazilians were talking to a group. They didn't know they were Israelis. As soon as they said they were Israeli, their whole attitude changed. They wanted to attack them. And we do not endorse that. But I'm saying it is reflective of the world, you know. And when Israel collapses as a state, a lot of people are pointing this out. These Israelis trying to go to other places around the world are in for a very rude awakening. Very rude awakening. You know, it's funny. The people in the arts are very intimidated because there's so much Zionist money in the arts. But Israelis are having a very hard time getting jobs in the arts. You see, that's something they can do, just not hire people. So even within the arts, they might not be saying it because they're fucking cowards, frankly. But come on, man. Who in that community is not pro-Palestine? How many people in that community are not pro-Palestine? They're afraid to say it because of the consequences, but you could see it. You're seeing it right now more in the fine arts. You're seeing it in being hired to work in museums, curators, that kind of thing. Israelis are having a very hard time getting a job. Eventually, it's going to be like being a Nazi trying to get a job. Although, you know, they did pretty well in the space program. So maybe if the Israelis come work for NASA, they might have some opportunities there.
Well, you know, it's interesting to think how they think this is going to go, because when you look at, you know, Iran's position in this war, it seems to be the superior position. So what did they think this was going to do? Again, it's just delusion. Like, how do they think this is going to work out for them? Right. I mean, it just seems to be just as the United States is in its sort of dying throes as an imperial power. Well, I guess the same goes for the vassal state, right? I mean, you just
Right.
reach a period of self-destructive violence because all other means of survival have either been exhausted or it's been determined that we don't do things that way. You know, China is sending diplomats to Iran to try and negotiate, the passage of oil through the Strait of Hormuz. That's the kind of soft power that the United States doesn't really know how to wield, and apparently the Israelis never knew how to wield that. That has been anathema to their entire projects. But it just doesn't seem to really be going any other way. Like, what did they think was going to happen? Do they think they're going to turn Iran into Libya and dominate the entire region, fill it with Western friendly governments and puppets, and just expand throughout the Middle East? I guess yes.
Yeah.
I guess that's
Yep.
the plan, right?
Yep.
But
Greater Israel Project is the plan.
that's the plan, right? And I guess they feel like this is their chance at it, but
Yeah.
it doesn't seem to be feasible. Doesn't seem to be doable. It just doesn't seem like it is destined for success. There's too much momentum, too many headwinds, as they say. All right, let's go to our scroll here. Hey, folks, if you like what we're doing here and you want to help us do more of it, please do consider becoming a member. DoDissidents.com/Patreon//Substack or /Locals. We will take the remainder of our super chats and Rumble rants before we close the lights on the stream today. Don't forget, Jimmy Dore is coming up with Professor Zhang, 5 p.m. Looks like we got a lot of super chats here. So you want to start on those and I'll copy these over?
Oh, yeah. Look at that. All right. Buster Peak, Bill's curiosity and growth plateaued years ago, right about when Tucker's exploded.
That's true. They've been on kind of opposite trajectories.
Yeah. That which isn't busy being born is busy dying.
That's right.
Noah Linden, Sufism is the kinder, enlightened Islam. Yeah, well, that's like the Islamic mysticism, right? Alex Lipton Universe. Huckabee is like an adult Disney kid who believes the mascots are real. We should, we upset the boomers. We should really go after the Disney adults tonight because that is some pathetic ass shit right there. Carl Tommen. I used to love Bill Maher from Politically Incorrect in the 90s and Real Time up until 2014. His turn to the right was evident in 2015 against Bernie. Well, man, that was a big mask off moment for a lot of things. Bill Maher was one of them. I'm with you, man. I used to like him. But the Bernie campaign, whatever our resentments or bitterness might be about who Bernie turned out to be and how that ended up, it revealed a lot of things, man. It revealed who people really were in a way that nothing else ever had.
That's right. 2,564 in the YouTube chat.
In the year 2525.
All right.
Sasser, I wish Tellerico would interview debate Zionists like Huckabee or Cruz. They would never do it. Race car. Man, Iranians are like the resourceful Fremen from Dune. The oil must flow. Brad Gilbert. DD should have covered Jimmy on Alex Jones Live with color commentary during the ad breaks. Russ saying what Alex was trying to run cover for gold. Yeah, that would have been funny. Andy Gardner, Keaton, that was me in the parking lot, and there was plenty of room, and I didn't appreciate the finger gesture.
There was plenty of room.
Brad Gilbert, Israeli police are anti-Semitic. Who knew?
Yep.
Yeah. P. Walker, that Tel Aviv resident can just go to the West Bank and steal a new house before his neighbor from Brooklyn does. Yeah, there you go. There you go. Yeah, when you're a settler, you never lack for property over there.
That's right.
Charles H. I don't recommend new music too often, but Chris Webby's song "Raw" Thoughts 3 came out a few days ago. Very good takedown of current happenings.
All right, thank you.
Skyman. The censorship that is happening is another stage of imperial decline. It's more cope agenda than propaganda, delusion, and denial. In Ausutrian with a funny mustache and a bunker went through the same. I mean, yeah, that's what I was thinking, man. I mean, it's what totalitarians always do, right? Everything's great, everything's fine. Isn't it great here in our dystopian nightmare state? Lesbian dance theorist. So you're saying we didn't start the fire, Israel did? I think that song needs a rewrite.
Good one.
Dave, 1984. By the way, you guys are the only ones that can fully articulate why Donald Trump is doing this to the extent that he is. Most guess Epstein, but stay confused. I can't take that 15-incher anymore. I'm an old man.
Sure.
I did shit right for a week last time, Miriam. Blackjack Pinocchio. When is Russ heading to badass communist China? April 3rd. My time in Vietnam is almost at an end. I'm going to Cambodia. Of course, going to see one of the great wonders of the world, Siem Reap. And then I'm out. Dave, 1984. By the way, anyone else starting to stash food and water? It's not a bad idea.
Not
All
bad
right.
idea.
So you want to go to your stuff?
Yeah, you got a couple left. Well, we're done with segments for the day. The Iron Dome usually works this way. Pulling out usually works. So yeah, go ahead. Take those last two. Thank you. Oh no, that one I have already. See what happened to my Rumble rants? Okay, go ahead. Take those last two.
And that's, by the way, for anyone who doesn't know, the big thing in Siem Reap is Angkor Wat. Andrea, did you see the interview of historian Zhang Zhuqin by George Galloway where he predicts that Israel will achieve the project of the greater Israel? Does he believe that they're going to win? Because he also believes Iran's going to win. Those things seem mutually exclusive. Bigfoot Lizard, super sticker. Thank you, man. All right, we're out.
Oh, George, the new missiles with 80 guided bombs are hitting everywhere now, not seeing interceptors. They were targeting energy info here today, was in the shelters 3 times over. Wow.
Yeah, see? Yeah, I mean, and that's on the ground, man.
That's on the
That's
ground.
our man inside Israel.
That's from Oh George. Thank you, Oh George. Ardeen W says, any society that makes it mandatory to include bomb shelters in every new apartment building is a society that knows it's going to always be a target for destruction. Yeah, exactly. 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 Eric Rousseau, will we get a Rambo propaganda movie out of this? Rambo Holy War. He's back. He's 80 and now circumcised. Good one. Gina and Heidi says, here's $5. Okay. Go slow and act like you love me. Okay. Good one. Thank you, Gina and Heidi. Eric Rousseau says, Israel is a blue star instead of a brown star because they believe their shit doesn't stink. Where will all these poor PDF files hiding in Israel run to?
Right.
Thing. EO Shush, I've wondered if Russ is a secret Zionist. All these Zionists were saying they would leave NYC if Mamdani won. And weeks after Mamdani entered office, Russ leaves and doesn't know if he's coming back. Here you go. Yeah, exactly. Good observation. Cracked the case. Russ is too brown looking now to pass as a Zionist. Yeah. Aren't those hottie IDF ladies protecting Israel? No TikTok dancing in the rubble. That's right.
Yeah, I haven't seen any of those fucking disgusting honeypot videos lately.
Pitching new reality show idea, Survivor Israel twist. You want to get voted off the island before you die. Good one. Still not, but a fan. Dual Israeli citizen Michael Chertoff released the dancing Israeli Mossad agents back up to Israel where they bragged about it in Hebrew on Israeli Talk TV. Chertoff's father founded the Mossad. Thank you, still but a fan. David Hughes, Rumble. The trouble with Zionism is that sooner or later you run out of other countries' missiles. Good one. Good one. All right, folks, that's our show. Thank you very much for being here today. This will redirect you to my Lucinda Williams album Countdown. by popular demand. So youtube.com/@shufflepod if you want to check it out. Do you have a video coming out tomorrow, or you just dropped one today, right?
Oh shit! You know what? I did load in the Cry Bully.
Oh, that's all right. You want to do that one real quick?
I mean, it's really only that video.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, I mean, we can.
Yeah,
It's
why
up to
not?
you.
Yeah.
All right. So this is just a fun little bit. Okay, so you want to see how they maintain or attempt to maintain the idea that they are victims, even as they are generally perpetrators of violence and aggression against others? From Clash Report, watch. A Jewish man in Nice, France, harassed pro-Palestinian demonstrators. When police arrived, he pretended to be the victim of an anti-Semitic attack. Oh, hang on. I didn't actually put in the video. All right. Give me 1 second. Vamp for a second.
All right.
I put in the slide, but not the video.
Oh, all right. Well, go ahead. Grab it. That's from Clash Report, right? All right. I got to clear all this stuff out. Here.
I got it.
Okay.
I got it. All right. So, yeah, here we go.
He sees the police coming.
He sees the police. Look, he pretends his leg is hurt.
Il a fait ça! Il a vraiment fait ça!
Il est fou, lui.
Yeah. All right. So let's see that again. All right. So he's harassing them. Right? Now he sees the police. Oh,
He's a cop.
Oh, they attacked me.
My leg. Wow.
And we've seen this constantly at the height of the Columbia protests. You remember the girl who literally like walked into somebody's flag?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
you see in the video that everybody was avoiding her. Nobody was touching her. She got interviewed. She made the round. She had a big thing on her eye. She got attacked with a flag. You remember? Yeah. remember that moron who went out. I am a Jew.
Oh yeah.
Ignoring her.
I'm not afraid. Nobody cares.
I'm not afraid. Nobody cared. She was just completely. Yeah, the guy like dancing in the background,
yeah.
like completely ignoring her. Yeah, man. We've seen a lot of videos like that. That's particularly glaring. That one's kind of amazing. But yeah, man, this is why the comparison to Scientologists is very appropriate. The Scientologists, they have the doctrine fair game, that anyone who's against Scientology, anything is fair game. You can frame them, you can go through their taxes, like anything. There's nothing that you can't do to them if they're against Scientology. That is how Zionists think. Anyone who's against their project, there's nothing that's off limits. That's why they will behave like this, because the ends always justify the means to them.
Yeah, no, just a crazy video. It's almost like he didn't want the cops to see him harassing the protesters, so he just acted like they were harassing him in the last second. Oh, wow, the cop here at the corner of my eye. Oh, it's funny. There it is, folks. Your moment is in. All right, we got RB Ham says that dude flipped worse than LeBron James. Good one. All righty. Thanks, everybody, very much for being here. Appreciate you all. We will be back here on Thursday at 1 p.m. Noon Eastern. I am backed up now because of the daylight savings. Yeah, Thursday at noon Eastern. Until then, thanks, everybody, very much for being here today. Thanks to the YouTubers. Thanks to the Rumblers. Thanks to the mods for keeping the peace in the chat. We'll see you all Thursday, noon Eastern. Until then, be safe and be well.
Courage!
Please clap.